bartesian.com/radio. That's bartesian.com/radio for Bartesian's best deal ever. Only at bartesian.com/radio.
You get up every morning and make it all work. You make the hospitals and the labs work. You keep the shelves stocked, the cash registers ringing, the production lines producing. At Vestas, we have the uniforms and workplace supplies you need to do what you do every day. When you think uniforms, floor mats, first aid kits, restroom supplies, think Vestas. Vestas, uniforms and workplace supplies for the people who make it all work. Learn more at Vestas.com.
The government is spying on you. No surprise, I know. But did you know the banks are helping them? And did you know that withdrawing your cash from the bank can be very risky? That's right. Let Swiss America educate you about this. Banks are now required to spy on us for the government, and they report any behavior they think is suspicious. You'll be shocked when you read The Secret War on Cash from Swiss America. This new war against cash is really a war against the Constitution, against all freedom-loving Americans. You must read The Secret War on Cash. Get your free copy by calling or texting 800-258-9968. 800-258-9968. This war on cash is growing daily, and it also includes all forms of digital money. So please get and read The Secret War on Cash free by calling or texting right now at 800-258-9968. 800-258-9968. Message and data rates may apply.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. Many of these animals are rescued from desolate conditions. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals for more than 140 years. They help ensure that pets have a safe, warm shelter during times of need, especially during natural disasters. But pets need forever homes too. Adopting a shelter pet enriches the lives of one's family and allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work, including their efforts to rescue animals in need, certify the humane treatment of farm animals, help ensure the safety of animals on the silver screen, and protect our planet's amazing endangered species at AmericanHumane.org.
What's one of your favorite memories?
That's a tough question. Well, there was this one time I went camping with my parents in a forest back when I was maybe like 8 or 9. And I can remember one night we were laying out in our hammocks and we were just, watching the trees rustling in the wind above us, and we could hear the sounds of the forest all around us. Frogs singing and owls calling and the creek running nearby. It was amazing. It felt like we were a part of it all. I don't know if I do it justice trying to describe it, but I'll definitely never forget it.
Most of us have a memory of being in nature we'll never forget. Let's protect the world's natural places so more memories can be made for generations to come. Visit worldwildlife.org.
WPHT, WPHT-HD, WOGL HD3, Philadelphia. Always live on the free Odyssey app. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Live and local from Philadelphia. Free speech lives here. It's Kayal and Company on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
And away we go, live on this Friday, November 3rd. It is indeed Kayal and Company. You're right here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. We are always live on the free Odyssey app and, of course, streaming live for your video viewing pleasure on YouTube as we head until 10 o'clock this morning. 855-839-1210, the phone number. Twitter and Instagram, the radio station at 1210 WPHT. I am at Nick Kayal, Kayal. Dawn Stensland with the news. Greg Stocker with the morning off. Anthony Dorenzo, Daniel Valdez, our associate producers. Phil running the video this morning. Dawn, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Happy Friday.
Friday. We made it. Weekend is upon us. Stocker taking care of sick kids, sick wives, not plural in either form, but
this is not big love.
that is correct. But he's got some stuff to deal with. So Daniel Valdez is the chairman of the board today, which, by the way, Daniel, I'll see, look at that. You hear that, Daniel? You hear how sad Dawn is?
Yeah.
Sad day.
We've had discussions.
Yes. Daniel has been arrested and indicted for January 6th.
I was actually there.
Stop.
Yeah, I was.
He was an insurrectionist.
I stormed in and.
You're starting rumors.
No, today is Daniel Valdez's final day with us here on the show and with us at the station. So Stalker said, you know what, I'll just use some lame excuse like my kid is sick, and I'll make him do a whole bunch of work on his final day.
Yeah.
But that's not true either.
That's how it works.
But we do appreciate all of your hard work, in all seriousness. Daniel Valdez, a guy who always busts his you-know-what and operates like a machine many of these days. So from me to you, we appreciate everything that you have done, and Dawn will get real emotional. She'll start crying. And
I know.
All that stuff.
Because Daniel graduated, when did you graduate from Newman officially?
Last May.
So graduated from Newman, still worked here, always first one in the building pretty much.
Yep.
And very hardworking on the weekends. We love you, and I know you'll be back.
Radio has a way of doing that to you, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It just sucks you back in. You're like, you know what? Damn your low pay and your long hours. I'm going elsewhere. And then you get the bug, you get the itch, and then you eventually come back.
Yeah, great things are going to cross paths again.
Yeah?
Which I can see it happening.
All right. Well, very good.
Well, that's why it's good if you make people miss you,
That's right.
right? Go take that other job, biggity big job, and then they have to lure you back.
Uh-huh. It's an acquired skill set.
See, Dawn knows the plan.
Exactly right.
That's kind of what Nick Kayal did,
That's right. It's a
You
power
know?
play. It's a power play.
right?
And now look at the other station.
See?
There you go. They're all dead now. We got a lot of good stuff to get to on the show this morning. A big take where you will hear a little bit of Elon Musk and Joe Rogan, as well as Rand Paul and Rich Zeoli. How about that? I'm going to work in a little Zeoli sound clip today.
Nice.
On the show. We've used a little bit of Dawn's stuff, some of Dom's stuff. Today we bring Zeoli into the big take as he had Senator Rand Paul on talking about COVID, the government, big tech, and Twitter. So very interesting big take, I think, coming up. Also, the left is playing the victim card yet again. Hunter Biden actually wrote an op-ed for the USA Today about how conservatives have weaponized his addiction. Oh, poor guy. And Salon Magazine with one of the most ridiculous articles you will ever read, in which they say that MAGA Republicans and Christian nationalists are a bigger threat to America than Hamas. I kid you not. I kid you not. I kid you not. And also some really great news for Republicans in Pennsylvania. The GOP is gaining on Democrats as far as voter registration goes, and it's a big chunk that has been ripped away from those that vote blue. We'll give you those details as we continue this morning as well. But a lot of news to get to, and for that, at 6:06, round number one, we go to the great Dawn Stensland.
And good morning. This Friday morning, I'll tell you when the warm-up begins. Happy Friday. By the way, President, since you mentioned politics, President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris endorsing Democrat Sherelle Parker for Philadelphia mayor for the 100th mayor of Philadelphia. Of course, Parker running against Republican David O. for mayor, and that's going to be decided next Tuesday.
Well, if it wasn't decided already, as we know with a 7-1 advantage, Joe and Kamala put the little rubber stamp on it for him.
Yes.
Okay.
Want to just give their little endorsement.
Well, they should. They come to Philadelphia every 4 weeks.
Very true. Very true. And speaking of Biden, President Joe Biden, as well as First Lady Jill Biden, traveling to Maine today to mourn with the community of Lewiston after 18 people were killed in what's being called the deadliest mass shooting in state history there in Maine. As you know, we've been talking about this. 13 others were injured that day, October 25th, in the shootings at a bar as well as a bowling alley, including kids and teenagers. So the president and first lady will go today, pay their final respects to those victims and meet with first responders and grieve with families and community members. That from the White House this morning. What a scene in Philadelphia at 30th Street Station last night, protesters shutting things down at one point, and everybody there demanding a, quote, ceasefire in Gaza. So protesters with Jewish Voice for Peace, the Philly-Palestine Coalition, and If Not Now, took over the transportation terminal there, 30th Street Station, and it was brought to a standstill for hours last night. It started about 6 p.m.-ish, and a huge demonstration making national news, of course, as some of the activists are opposed to the fighting between Israel and Hamas, but about 300 faith leaders and protesters with Jewish Voice for Peace and the others I mentioned rallying inside the station, demanding that ceasefire in Gaza. Ultimately, they did have to detain and make some arrests of individuals who refused, to be peaceful in the sense of you cannot stop operations at a major transportation hub.
That's correct. And, the thing that bothers me about this, and I think we might have some video. I know there was some videos that were sent last night as far as what if you're on YouTube, you get a chance to watch it. If we have them, Phil, if we could put up those videos, perhaps on loop as we talk about this. That's the thing that bothers me. Like, you're interrupting other people's lives and commutes and getting from point A to point B. And by the way, too, once again, this pro-Hamas feel protest to it. Let me just say this. Let's see how energetic those individuals are if we were to take them and ship them over to Gaza and have them sit down for a little bit. And let's just see how pro-Hamas they would be. I don't. We're 4 weeks into this. I continue to be mystified by the amount of people that are on the wrong side of the ball, so to speak.
Yeah. Amen.
Yeah.
Finally, by about 9 o'clock, because like I say, it started at 6 p.m.-ish, but by 9 o'clock, they had about 24 demonstrators who had been detained by police after refusing repeatedly for, more than an hour to stop blocking entrances at several of those Amtrak gates.
Yeah, and we've got the video going on YouTube right now if you're watching, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. And of course, a lot of these individuals, not all of them, but probably at least 50%, if not more, wearing masks.
I'll also have the audio coming up at 7:45.
All right, cut sheet at 7:45.
Okay. Yeah, got to wear the mask.
Yeah,
you
Yeah, right. Well, in one part, because I'm going to protect myself from COVID. And then I also want to protect my identity in case I do get in trouble, because this is something I believe in so much, but I'm afraid to show my face. Yeah, okay.
We did have last night a sad night in the suburbs. This has been Salem, I'll take you to, where the family of 14-year-old Peter Romano, who was a ninth grader at Snyder Middle School, he was gunned down Halloween night about 7:30 p.m. at Bristol Pike and Woodbine Avenue. A large group of teenagers were out there, and police saying that the 14-year-old Peter, he suffered that fatal gunshot wound to his chest, killing him when a gunman opened fire on a crowd of mostly teenagers out there. So his family speaking out, his father speaking out, wants to remember his son for his upbeat personality, and family and friends gathering there at a candlelight vigil last night, calling for justice, as the family, the community saying they don't even have a good description of this gunman who fired at least a dozen shots from his vehicle. And so they're asking anybody, even just trying to get that, surveillance kind of video, whether it's a Ring doorbell type situation, anything, a business, a vehicle, they want to get somebody who had some kind of video just to try to get the suspect description out. They still have not caught that killer.
Terrible, terrible news. Hard to believe in this day and age we can't find like one decent camera angle or, shred of evidence here.
We've been reporting this week, a 17-year-old and 19-year-old were also hit by gunfire. They are expected to survive. So one of them already released from the hospital. The other underwent surgery in stable condition. So we're following that search for a killer in the suburbs, or where did the killer drive off to from Bucks County the other night. So we're following that very carefully. Of course, sports-wise, it's a big weekend. It's Eagles-Dallas. And that brings us also, I'll remind you that I think Daniel Valdez, who's from here, but somehow grew up as a Dallas fan.
Well, that's bad parenting.
Right.
That's bad parenting 101, right? That much has been established for many decades in this city. But yeah, I mean, if the Eagles get the win, or regardless of actually the outcome, we won't get to celebrate or hear him running his mouth on Monday if the Cowboys pull off the upset. I know.
We know that Eagles rookie Tyler Steen could see his first start at right guard against the Cowboys. So that's one of the headlines. Another one, Sixers. We're actually 3-1. So we're last night's game 114-99 in the first game since James Harden was traded. So I know Joel Embiid was speaking out about that one and was trying to be a little gracious, but he's 114-99 victory over the Toronto Raptors last night. Pretty good crowd too.
Yeah. This could be addition by subtraction. I think they had a ceiling with James Harden anyway. Maybe they can be just slightly better without the guy around anymore. You never know. That's why they play the games. Looking for a positive angle. As long as we have Embiid, we'll be a playoff team, but something tells me that's not enough for this fan base.
Yeah, half glass full.
Yeah.
Let's go to the NBC 10 first alert forecast. It is Friday. Many under the Friday night lights for football this evening, or maybe tomorrow for your high school games, and not to mention our Eagles. So we're on a sunny stretch, warming up to 60 degrees today for your Saturday. Another mostly sunny day Saturday, 62 degrees. And then Sunday, 65 degrees, mostly sunny. Just a gorgeous Sunday. And what's the Eagles kickoff? 4:30?
Yeah, about
4:35.
Yeah, 4:25. Yep.
4:25.
Mm-hmm.
So actually a wonderful day for tailgating, celebrating the Eagles. Beautiful forecast, 65 degrees. It's Friday. This is Kayal and Company News Live.
All right, Dawn, thank you very much. 6:14 on this Friday morning as we wrap up another week with another Big Take.
The Big Take on Kayal and Company.
All right, the Big Take this morning, COVID, the FBI, and Twitter, America's most egregious modern-day cover-up. When we look back at the COVID-19 pandemic, what our government did and what they did not permit will never be forgotten. Forcing people to choose between a shot that they didn't need or losing their jobs, mandating you wear a mask that offered little to no protection and refusing to hear otherwise, telling you to show them your vaccination card to enter a gym or a restaurant when we realized that you could still get COVID and spread COVID regardless of your vax status. And of course, social media and the government colluding together to ensure that only one school of thought was allowed to be shared, or you risked big tech taking you off of their platform and silencing you. Classic example of governmental censorship. Elon Musk, the owner of X, formerly known as Twitter, under Jack Dorsey, told Joe Rogan on his podcast just how bad the ratio of censorship was between Republicans and Democrats. Listen and watch this.
What was that like? Because that, to me, that was the most bizarre, was the Twitter files. When you let Schellenberger and Matt Taibbi and all those guys get in the Twitter, and the response where Matt Taibbi gets audited. I mean, which is just wild. I mean, it's just so blatant and so in your face.
Yeah, it's weird. No, I mean, the degree to which, and by the way, Jack didn't really know this, but the degree to which Twitter was simply an arm of the government was not well understood by the public, and it was whatever the official government. I mean, it was like Pravda basically. It's a state publication is the way to think of old Twitter. It's a state publication.
And was the justification from their perspective that they are progressive liberals, they have the right intentions, it's important that they stay in power, the progressive liberals stay in government and power, because this is their...
There was basically oppression of any views that would even, I would say, be considered middle of the road. But certainly anything on the right. I'm not talking about like far right. I'm just talking mildly right. The people like Republicans were suppressed at 10 times the rate of Democrats. Now that's because old Twitter was fundamentally controlled by the far left. It was like completely controlled by the far left.
Well, I can sit here and say that Elon Musk is boring to listen to. He lost a ton of money on Twitter. He's become a bit exhausting being a troll on social media, and he has some left-wing views when it comes to climate change. I will absolutely always give him credit for pointing out and exposing the levels to which our government went to shut down Republicans, conservatives, and free speech absolutists. In fact, you can't put a price tag on that. And speaking of COVID, here's a story you won't see on lamestream media. The Daily Mail revealing this story and headline just 2 days ago. Revealed, Anthony Fauci ran a lab in Montana that experimented with coronavirus strain shipped in from Wuhan a year before the COVID pandemic began. They go on to say the NIH infected 12 bats with a SARS-like coronavirus back in 2018. The virus was shipped from Wuhan to an NIH lab in Montana. Here are some other details. U.S. taxpayer money was used to experiment with coronaviruses from the Chinese lab thought to be the source of the COVID pandemic more than a year before the global outbreak, an investigation has found. The NIH, under Dr. Anthony Fauci's leadership, infected 12 Egyptian fruit bats with a SARS-like virus called WIV1 at a lab in Montana in 2018. The research revealed this week by a campaign group determined that the novel coronavirus would not cause a robust infection. But the research is more evidence of ties between the U.S. government and the Wuhan lab, as well as the funding of dangerous virus research across the globe. The WIV1 coronavirus was shipped from the Wuhan lab, the FBI believes, that caused the COVID pandemic and was tested on bats acquired from a roadside Maryland zoo. The 2018 experiment was carried out at the NIH's Rocky Mountain Laboratories in Montana, which was overseen by Fauci, the former director of the NIH. The research was a joint venture between the NIH's Rocky Mountain Laboratories and Wuhan Institute of Virology and their collaborator, Ralph Barrick of the University of North Carolina. Scientists obtained 12 Egyptian fruit bats from a Maryland zoo and inoculated them with the WIV1 coronavirus, which was first detected in Chinese horseshoe bats. They performed exams on the animals daily and measured things like body weight and temperature. Scientists also took samples from the bats' noses and throats. On days 3, 7, and 28, 4 of those bats were euthanized, and their liver, heart, kidney, spleen, bladder, reproductive organs, eyes, and brain were collected for analysis. Scientists also analyzed white blood cell count and antibodies. Researchers determined the WIV1 coronavirus did not cause a robust infection and observed very limited evidence of virus replication. Wow. So let me get this straight. American taxpayer money to mess around with this virus in our country a year before this virus kills countless Americans. And you are not allowed to debate this or even question it on social media. Just be quiet, deplorables. Our own scientists over here tinkering with and messing around with bats and viruses and other sorts of stuff. Nothing to see here. But actually, there was. And perhaps there still is. Senator Rand Paul joined the Rich Zeoli show this week and had this conversation with Zeoli about COVID, big tech, and the government. Listen and watch.
Senator Rand Paul joins me. The book is a must-read, Deception, the Great COVID Cover-Up. This is one of the most important books of our time. It is the biggest cover-up of our time. And, of course, the entire time this was going on, you had big tech censoring people for posting about this. And this brings up a fight that you're waging right now, Senator, which is the FBI's collusion with social media. And I know you went after Christopher Wray about this. I want to play a very quick clip for you of something that Elon Musk said regarding Twitter before he was the owner of Twitter and the FBI's involvement.
The degree to which Twitter was simply an arm of the government was not well understood by the public. And it was whatever the official government, I mean, it was like Pravda, basically. It's a state publication is the way to think of old Twitter. It's a state publication. There was basically oppression of any views that would even, I would say, be considered middle of the road. But certainly anything on the right. I'm not talking about like far right. I'm just talking mildly right. The people like Republicans were suppressed at 10 times the rate of Democrats.
That's amazing that we have the FBI working like this with big tech and the corporate media to suppress things like you going after Anthony Fauci over gain-of-function research and the lab leak.
Without question, Elon Musk is right. It is true. They became an arm of the government. They essentially became the censorship arm of government, and it's appalling. It's an affront to the First Amendment. Imagine if you and I, after this interview, when you get off the phone with me, that the FBI comes into your office and says, we've listened to the interview and we've decided that 2 or 3 of the questions you ask and the responses are not consistent with the government narrative. In other words, they're disinformation, and we'd like you to remove them. We would be horrified at that, and yet we allowed it to happen with Twitter and with Facebook. For over a year, Facebook took down any story and prevent the spread of any story that alleged that the virus leaked from a lab, and that's how it started. They basically suppressed it, but at the behest of government. So I have a bill that would fix this.
Senator Rand Paul on the Rich Zeoli Show. The moment the government comes after you, it's because they know that you are on to them. And it's your right to question anything, question everything, anything the government says, does, or tells you to do. Curiosity, free speech, doing your own research, robust debate, and the free marketplace of ideas is what makes America the greatest nation of all. Or at least it used to be that way. And that's the big take.
The Big Take on Kayal and Company.
Big take this morning. If you want to jump in with thoughts and reaction, you can certainly do so. 855-839-1210, the phone number, Twitter and Instagram, the radio station at 1210 WPHT. And, of course, you could be a part of the Kayal and Company comment community. Just go to youtube.com/@1210 WPHT. Hit the like and subscribe buttons and join the conversation today. We'll get some reaction to this on the other side. And then also Hunter Biden playing the victim card with the USA Today. And one publication says MAGA Republicans and Christians are a bigger threat to America than Hamas could ever be. It's a true story, at least they claim. We'll get to that when we continue. Kayal and Company live here on a Friday morning on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Comedian Joe Conklin. Back here at the Phillies wrap-up in front of a very despondent crowd here, L.A.
I see John Ritchie talking to some ladies at the bar doing his best Nick Castellanos impression.
How's that, L.A.?
He just struck out 4 times.
Ritchie dancing on his own again.
That's Conklin's comedy show at St. Ignatius Church in Yardley, November 4th, and the Sillersville Theater on November 18th. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com.
Hey, it's Rich Zeoli. When you're involved in an accident, you need a lawyer to help you maximize your recovery and get the fair value of your case. You need the law offices of Thomas G. Skopanich. My buddy Tom has been serving the greater Delaware Valley for over 25 years, and he's helped many clients. With offices located in Lansdale, Montgomery County, let Tom help you maximize your recovery and get the fair value for your case. Contact Tom at scopelawyer.com or 215-624-2211.
When big corporate banks make a decision, it can take multiple calls and a lot of patience to get an answer. When we make a banking decision, it's over a cup of coffee in our office. Discover the value of personal bankers and real relationships with First Bank. First Bank is excited to join forces with Malvern Bank in understanding your financial goals for success. Experience the difference of real relationships. Connect with our team today at firstbankpa.com or stop in and say hi at any of our 26 First Bank branches. First Bank is an equal opportunity lender and member FDIC.
Chronic pain, cancer, fatigue. Find out about the benefits of medical hydration therapy on Health Watch with Dr. Molly Fantasia every Sunday morning at 8 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
For over 4 decades, Kitchen Magic has been transforming ordinary kitchens into extraordinary spaces. Our dedicated team is at the core of our success, combining expertise and creativity to drive innovation and excellence. We understand that your kitchen is more than just a space. It's where memories are made and cherished for a lifetime. We'll craft a kitchen that truly becomes the heart of your home. Discover the possibilities at kitchenmagic.com today. Now offering no money down, no interest, and no payments for 12 months on your kitchen remodel.
Serving in Vietnam, a grenade took my ability to see. I'm Michael Naranjo, and I'm a veteran. Today, I'm a sculptor. My fingers are my eyes.
DAV helps veterans like Michael get the benefits they've earned. They help more than 1 million veterans every year.
With DAV, more veterans can shape their lives into a thing of beauty. My victory is bringing beauty into the world.
Support more victories for veterans. Go to DAV.org.
Hey, Paoli. We know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
Kayal and Company as we continue live on a Friday morning. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Always get us on the free Odyssey app. Watch us live on YouTube. 855-839-1210, the phone number. Well, I got to tell you two things. Number one, it's starting to hit me that the nice weather. I know we're going to have some nice weather coming up on Sunday. I don't want the frost on my windshield. Not on November 3rd. Not when you have to get up and be out at 4:35 in the morning. It's too early for that. I don't need 31-degree mornings. That's already starting to become quite depressing. Give me some nice fall weather. Give me like a 3-4 week stretch here going in and through Thanksgiving where it'll be a little bit warmer out. And I'm not saying it needs to be incredibly warm. You know, high 50s, low 60s, I'm good with that. But the 31-degree mornings where you got to go full blast with the defroster and then try to do the windshield wiper fluid, and then it freezes on the windshield, and it's just like, what am I doing with my life?
Some of your fancy trucks doesn't have a remote start?
No, it doesn't. I swear it doesn't. And even if it did, where I am situated in the apartment complex, there's no way it would reach because I have to walk a certain path and then go all the way down, from the 4th floor to get to the truck. But no.
I guess call me bougie because I got one.
You have an automatic car starter?
I do.
Dawn Stensland, do you have an automatic car starter to defrost your windows so you can get into a nice warm car?
Okay, I think I probably do, but I have no idea how to work it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're super complicated to figure out.
Yeah, but okay, I'm just going to say this.
Yeah.
Nick, we should go to Piazza together.
I know.
I bet you both of even though mine's a 2018, I bet you your Ridgeline is brand new.
I look at the keypad, and it's lock, unlock, panic, and truck bed, or the trunk, and there's no automatic start unless I'm missing something.
I bet there is.
Now, I could be like a normal, hardworking American and go downstairs, go outside, start it, go back inside for a couple of minutes, and then come out to a warm car. But I'm actually a lazy American, and I want things to be easy in my life. So
we have to check with. That's embarrassing, but I bet we do. I know
lucky. Where's Steinberg at? Let's get him on the line right now.
It would be on your key fob if you did have one.
It's not there. It's definitely not there. I've tried it. Yep.
We'll have to.
You got to take the car back.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to investigate. I bet you have one, but I'm lucky because we have a big 3-car garage. So my car is warm. Do you know what I mean? So I don't have to even though one lane of the garage is full of stuff. And it's like, and nobody else I don't know if you ever bought your girls those, they're pretty big. Like it's like a Jeep, like for kids.
Oh, like the actual Barbie Jeep?
Yeah, like the Barbie Jeep, but these would be like the G.I. Joe Jeep for the kids or the fire engine. We have all that stuff.
Wow.
So I'm always saying
it's time to unload that, right?
Let's unload this. I always say, let's give it to a relative. Nobody wants it. What do you do?
Right.
And they're like, sell it online. I'm like, I'm not going to deal with, I don't know.
Will that vehicle impact climate change? That's the ultimate question we have to ask ourselves.
No, because they're fully battery operated.
That's correct. And then they'll die in about 8 minutes. 855-839-1210. So I thought it was interesting. I was, I tried to consume some of the Rogan Elon Musk podcast beyond what we've heard on the last show yesterday on the cut sheet. And then I saw, I think it was Rich or somebody from the station put out a retweet of Rich with a 2-minute chunk of the interview that he had with Rand Paul. So that kind of triggered my brain a little bit. And I went back and listened to that interview. And Rand Paul is just a fantastic interview. And Zioli really nailed that. And I think they were able to get Rand Paul, while he was, ending his workday. It kind of sounded like he was moving about as he was doing the interview. Yeah. And, there's a lot of things that I like about Rand Paul, but he is one of the biggest guys when it comes to coming after Anthony Fauci and COVID and the government suppression of it. And, I did not even know the fact, and I'm not sure many people did, which is why I threw that little wrinkle into the big take, that Fauci and the NIH, well over a year before we even hear about COVID showing up in China. And I would think that this has got to be at least 18 months before we had the first documented case of COVID in March of 2020 in the United States. And then the pandemic starts and all hell breaks loose. They were messing around with this stuff in Montana, presumably in the middle of nowhere. I don't know that there's much of anything in Montana, to be completely honest. And they're messing around with bats and this WIV1 virus, which is similar to a SARS COVID-2, COVID-19 variation. And it's just like, I'm not dumb enough and I'm not naive enough to think that you don't have to as you have these like leading scientists. In a way, your goal is always to be ahead of the next pandemic, and you have to mess around with this type of stuff. But we gave you the story. It had to be in the first couple of months of this show. Remember, they were tinkering around with some sort of COVID virus in England, and there was concern that would get loose. And here we are once again. It's basically like playing with fire in 2018. And, of course, who's the guy overseeing the whole operation? Mr. Science himself, who we were not allowed to question at all, much less us, Dawn. Other people in Fauci's own field of study could not question him. He was the authority when it comes to that type of stuff.
Yeah, and a piece of that is, Donald J. Trump believed him at first.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody did.
Right.
And that's an important piece of this, that once that mask was, taken off and ripped off, that was, to me, a bad moment for America. It was shocking in the sense that here was this, seemingly nice older man, and he's dedicated his life to science. And it's hard for me to believe that he lied to our faces, essentially. And so, you look at what happened just yesterday. I know Camden, Philadelphia, all of those news conferences, Dr. Cheryl Bettigol from Philadelphia saying, we need to get the COVID shots and people are still dying of COVID. The problem is, even if they're right, there is such a skepticism now after all of this because of all the lies. I mean, Elon Musk, bringing up, Pravda, and the Soviet Union and Lenin, essentially, and talking about propaganda. And that analogy that Senator Paul used, saying, well, imagine if in this interview, imagine right now the government comes in. It was a great analogy to say, we don't like a few things, and we feel, in our opinion, it's disinformation. So we're just going to have you take that out. And that was essentially what was happening at Twitter. Oh, my goodness.
And, if you didn't have a huge amount of trust in the government or in big pharma prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, you certainly will not have any more trust left over, I would imagine, moving forward the next time something like this happens again. And God forbid it does, knock on wood. It happens after all of us listening on the show today are long gone, and we don't have to worry about it. But, I mean, whatever trust they had left with anybody from the middle over to the right is probably long gone. Now, of course, those on the left will still adhere to it. They'll be like sheep. I mean, there'll be Democrats rolling up their sleeves. Yeah, fire away, inject it into me. I don't want to die, but sir, you 99.8% chance of living. That's all right. Give it to me anyway. I don't care if I'm not high risk. So you'll still have those people. But, this is a trust issue moving forward, and we have seen this in the past, and we've talked about some of these polls. All of the institutions in America right now have never had less support and trust from its citizens than it does today. Big pharma, government, big tech, social media, education, academia, you go down the list. Americans just, not overwhelmingly, but a good portion of them look at all of these big institutions and they say, you know what? I'm not sure I believe you. So that's kind of where we are today. 855-839-1210. All right, so let's get to the victim card. I couldn't believe I saw this. I literally thought this was like artificial intelligence or somebody photoshopped this or this was a total like parody bit. But Hunter Biden actually wrote an op-ed for the USA Today saying that amongst investigations and criminal charges, how the right has vilified my addiction. So we got to get into this. So Hunter Biden says, I fought to get sober, yet political weaponization of my addiction hurts more than me. My struggles and my mistakes have been fodder for a vile and sustained disinformation campaign against my father, President Joe Biden, and an all-out annihilation of my reputation. He goes on to say, and this is Hunter Biden writing in the USA Today, over 4 years ago, I chose life over the slow, strangled death grip of addiction, which in my case consisted each day of a bottle of vodka and as many hits on a crack pipe as possible. I am prouder of that choice and of my recovery than anything I have ever done. My experience is not a unique one. At least 20 million Americans today suffer from substance abuse disorder. I don't know a family that hasn't been impacted in some way by some addiction. What is distinct about my situation is that I'm the son of the President of the United States of America. My struggles and my mistakes have been fodder for a vile and sustained disinformation campaign against him and an all-out annihilation of my reputation through high-pitched but fruitless congressional investigations and, more recently, criminal charges for possessing an unloaded gun for 11 days 5 years ago. Charges that appear to be the first ever of their kind brought in the history of Delaware. He goes on to say, Hunter Biden, I am not a victim by any standard. Well, you're certainly making it sound like you are. I grew up with privilege and opportunity. All right, it's nice that he admits that. And he fully accepts that the choices and mistakes that he made are his own. But he says what troubles me is the demonization of addiction, of human frailty, and using me as its avatar and the devastating consequences it has for the millions that struggle. Think about the audacity of this guy right here. This is a guy who is conducting shady business on behalf of his father to benefit and line the pockets of the Biden family. He also goes on to admit that he, by any standard, he grew up with privilege and opportunity. Yet all we have ever heard from Joe Biden is he's middle-class Joe. He's the poorest guy in Congress. He's not making a good buck. He's just your everyday grinder fighting in the public sector amongst government employees to better this country. But let's get back to Hunter. This guy is conducting shady business, which at bare minimum is morally and ethically wrong, probably criminally wrong, and we'll see how this plays out with the House Republicans and the House Oversight Committee. And he's basically been an unemployed leech for many, many years, which is weird because he's got a law degree, and you got to imagine when he's sober that he's capable of being a pretty intelligent American citizen. And on top of it, he is a deadbeat father who not only didn't want to pay child support, he didn't want to acknowledge the existence of his 4-year-old daughter, Navy Jean Roberts, I believe is the name. We've talked about that in the past.
Little girl.
And yeah, and the Biden family saying, well, we have 5 grandchildren. No, you have 6. Or we have 6. No, you have 7. I forget the exact number. But they were always omitting this poor little 4-year-old girl who probably all she wants to do is, I would think at 4 years old, once you can start realizing that you have a dad, you want to spend time with daddy, you want to see your pop-up, the whole bit. And USA Today has always been a left-wing publication. But to sit here and give Hunter Biden the writing space to play the victim card. And look, I get it. Addiction can be an awful thing. I think everybody listening knows addiction is a real thing. It's impacted somebody directly or indirectly. And, I don't want to see the guy die from crack or vodka or anything else. But dude, you're not a victim here. And, you've been involved in a lot of, let's just say, shady stuff for a long time. This is not a good human being, in my opinion. Yet he is playing the victim card here and gets the opportunity to write this. If you want to talk about just purely your addiction, okay. You need 850 words. Send it to me. Send it to the editorial desk by 4 o'clock. We'll put it in the paper. I got you there. Totally get that. But once again, the victim card and making it out as Republicans are going on a witch hunt or a smear campaign. I mean, as the evidence comes in day by day, Dawn, we are seeing just how intricate Hunter Biden and Joe were with this cover-up to basically use their name and their brand as an influence peddling operation and also lining their pockets without paying taxes. Don't tell me you're the victim here, dude.
Yeah, I mean, this is influence peddling. I would say he's playing the victim card.
Yep.
And he's saying it's addiction, but the evidence shows looks more and more like corruption, not addiction.
Yes.
And by the way, most addicts, which is a tragic situation, end up on the street, homeless. Wow, he was a high-performing addict, was he not?
Yes, correct. And to your point, you end up in Kensington, right? On a sidewalk.
And so to kind of pimp that whole tragic downward spiral for anybody who's had a family member, you know what I mean, with regard to addiction, to use that and let that be in the headlines for USA Today. I agree with you, Nick. Shame on them.
Right.
And trying to take away from the fact, by the way, put out there, Hunter, what about this? What about that? All of
Mhm.
these banking records.
Yep.
And they continue to come out. We've talked about them just this week. More money coming out, even though every check seems to say repayment of a loan.
Yeah, they have more. The Bidens have more loans than anybody.
But where's the original loan that
That's
you're
correct.
repaying?
Right.
That's the question, right?
And
Among
to
others.
and to your point, I believe it was yesterday or Wednesday. There was another $40,000 that was accounted for. James Comer, if you follow him on Twitter, posted a video of more proof directly linking the Bidens to what the House GOP has alleged that they have done. Hunter says the following in USA Today, and he's got all the talking points too. It's almost like he ran this by the Democratic Party and said, here, can you proofread this? And is there any buzzwords you want me to use? He says, the weaponization of my addiction by partisan and craven factions represents a real threat to those that are desperate to get sober, but are afraid of what may await them if they do. I think you obviously, when it comes to addiction, you want to help your family and you help those people out. But I also think in many families, you can only do so much for that person where eventually you kind of wash your hands with them and you're like, all right, for 5 years I tried. It's ultimately a you thing. You got to get your act together. I'm done having a relationship with you until you do. Like those things play out. It seems like this guy still has not had that moment. It feels like Joe Biden and Jill and everybody else in the Biden family has literally carried him and held his hand the whole time. And he's a man in his 50s. Like eventually, and he claims that he's sober for I think now for 4 years. But there was also a video circulating on social media in the last 2 days where he was like, it looks like, and allegedly, he's just kind of like filming himself on like Instagram Live or something, wandering around like a porch in a house. And my first thought was, if this is real, is this guy banged up again on the crack pipe, just doing stupid stuff? He looked completely out of it.
Yeah.
And you can see the video on social media. Again, I don't know how verified it is and when it's from, but it was being circulated. So take that for what it's worth.
Yeah, I think the biggest question I have is because we saw others who've served jail time. That was Steve Bannon served the jail time. That unregistered foreign agent.
Yep.
That's a huge one. You're going to go to jail for that. I don't know how he gets around that because he was not registered, and he's whining and dining with the Chinese, with the whole Burisma company, with Ukrainians, the Russians. I mean, I don't know how he gets around that, Nick. And so I have to give it to the guy. I don't know if he's writing it or somebody else is writing it for him, but the fact that USA Today and the media picks this up is a pretty amazing media campaign where he is just trying to fool the public.
No question.
It's unbelievable that the media, like you're saying, would fall for this.
Yep. 855-839-1210 if you want to jump in. Coming up next, one of the most ridiculous things I've ever read, and that's saying something. MAGA and Christian nationalism, a bigger threat to America than Hamas could ever be. You've got to be kidding me. It's Kayal and Company. Back after this on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. Rescue Natural Supplements' unprecedented Black Friday sale is back again this year. The savings are bigger and better than ever. Right now, they're slashing prices on all supplements with discounts ranging from 50 to an incredible 80% off the total cost. Rescue has a wide array of products to address your health needs, including immunity, cholesterol support, heart health, and natural energy enhancers. It's 50% off omega-3s, probiotics, and so much more. And one more thing, this Rescue Black Friday sale will run the entire month of November. So shop today at res-q.com, res-q.com, or call a Rescue product consultant 800-26-ALIVE, 800-262-5483. Again, all Rescue supplements are 50 to 80% off during the entire month of November. So why wait? Start shopping at res-q.com today or call 800-26-ALIVE.
This is Larry Steinhaus of Investor Schooling. I am so proud to announce the continuing success of our students at Investor Schooling. You already know that at Investor Schooling, we teach real estate investing and stock options. Did you also know that we teach things about tax savings, estate planning, and business coaching as well? We teach things about money I bet you never knew. At Investor Schooling, we teach from the perspective of true experience. If you want to see what our students think about Investor Schooling, please check out the over 160 5-star Google reviews. To find out more about how you can change your financial life, go to investorschooling.com or call 866-424-2829. That's 866-424-2829, and you can attend a complimentary class this Thursday at 7 p.m. Attend that class and see for yourself what investor schooling is all about. Go to investorschooling.com or call 866-424-2829. That's 866-424-2829. We can't wait to see you this Thursday.
You're invited to witness a groundbreaking documentary, America's Retirement Dilemma, a documentary of Wall Street's rigged system, featuring powerful exclusive interviews such as the president and CEO of the leading analytics firm over Wall Street, Del Bar Incorporated, Lou Harvey, who explains why Wall Street is not set up to have a fiduciary duty to the everyday investor.
Wall Street is not set up to handle a fiduciary relationship. Too expensive to replace all of my compensation systems, retrain all of my people. The whole structure that's been built over the last 100 years would have to be turned on end. I would have to be brutally negative. We have an industry that has been built on caveat emptor, buyer beware.
Hear this and more exclusive interviews with powerful industry leaders, esteemed economists, and top researchers at the Spring Mill Manor, November 14th. Registration is required. Call Crash Proof Retirement, 800-722-9728.
You've heard us talk a lot about Piazza Honda, and for my family, we recently were with my son Michael. He got that gorgeous new Honda Civic from our friends at Piazza Honda. By the way, I texted him this morning because we were having a conversation about, your remote fob, your Honda fob, and yes, Michael says, yeah, I definitely have the remote start, Mom. I'll have to show you and Nick how to use yours. But the knowledgeable sales team really showing us all the features there at Piazza. And then, of course, took us on a road test as Michael could test drive it. We were so impressed, and we left the dealership with the specific model, the color that Michael had hoped for, had wanted. I mean, everything. It was such a great experience, and it was seamless from start to finish. If you're considering a new or a pre-owned Honda, just visit Piazza Honda in Philadelphia, Springfield, Langhorne, Pottstown, or Reading. You can always shop online, piazzahonda.com, Piazza, piazzahonda.com. Tell them Dawn sent you.
Be sure to follow Talk Radio 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
It is Kayal Company, 6:51 Friday morning. Hopefully all of you up to a great start on your Friday. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Nick Kayal, Dawn Stensland, Greg with the morning off, Daniel Valdez, Anthony Dorenzo, Phil here as well. As we head until 10 o'clock, Dawn will have some news to kick off hour 2. Of course, what's on the cut sheet in just about an hour, and all of the normal fixings as we continue on this Friday morning. I got to tell you, there's some remarkable stuff that people write, and I don't know, number one, how they actually get away with writing it, why they would even remotely believe it. And the scary part is some of the people that consume their content will absolutely believe it or already do believe it. And that gets us to this article from Salon. And the title headline is MAGA and Christian nationalism are a bigger threat to America than Hamas could ever be. I can't tell you how much that enrages me when, and like it shouldn't, because I know it's absolutely not true and it's such a ridiculous headline. But let me just give you a couple excerpts from this. And of course, by the way, no facts, no proof that MAGA Republicans or Christians in America have actually committed more murders, more rapes, more beheadings than Hamas. But I digress. Even Mitch McConnell, according to, by the way, this was written by longtime White House correspondent Brian Karem, who now writes a weekly column for Salon. So longtime White House correspondent, left-wing loser Brian Karem. He says even Mitch McConnell is trying to push back against Mike Johnson and the MAGA lunatics. It isn't working. By the way, man, they've really thrown Mike Johnson's feet to the fire, have they not? The left-wing media, the Democrats, you know, They wasted no time going after him. He says, as the world inches closer to a war that only psychopaths want to see, on Tuesday, the FBI issued a warning that the chance of a staged terrorist attack in the United States has grown since the war began in Gaza. In the White House briefing later that day, Fox News reporter Peter Doocy asked National Security Council spokesman John Kirby, which is what we played you this clip on the cut sheet, has the White House considered the possibility that a terrorist could be in the country right now after crossing the southern border? He goes on to say in this article, obviously they have, or the FBI wouldn't have issued the warning. The question remains, however, what our government response would be to such an attack. That has already been discussed at the highest levels in our government, and the public has a right to know what that reaction would be. So he goes through, and this is about a 6-page column that I printed, and I just want to point out a few excerpts because, again, there's no backing up of your claim, of your headline, that MAGA Republicans are more dangerous than Hamas. But he goes on to say, bipartisanship, once seen as a laudable goal on many issues, is now sneered at by most remaining members of the Republican Party. Working with Democrats for them is like choosing death over a slice of cake. Okay. He goes on to say, while the world burns, Johnson and the MAGA wing of the Republican Party, which seem to have swallowed the evangelical movement while also embracing it, is embracing the darkest verses of the Bible, apparently pushing for apocalypse with an enthusiasm only rivaled by Saul's slaughter of Christians before he changed his name to Paul. They want no separation of church and state. They want an isolationist country surrounded by walls and dedicated to the proposition that the First Amendment guarantees them the right to worship any way they want, while forcing the rest of us to worship the way they choose. Really? So somebody on the left has the temerity to say that Republicans are infringing on First Amendment rights and forcing the rest of us to bow down to the way they think and operate? Did this White House correspondent just live through the last 3.5 years in this country where the left and big tech and social media and the mainstream media and Democrats and the Biden administration basically curtailed any free speech or freedom to think differently? I guess this guy was on Pluto for the last 3.5 years. And then he goes on to say, none of that really matters to the Republicans, though. They revel in their own chicanery. They despise free thought and independence. Republicans despise free thought and independence, Don Stensland?
Wow.
I feel like I've been on Hunter Biden's crack pipe. I can't believe I'm reading this and processing this correctly.
Well said.
What in the world is this guy talking about?
This is such a manipulation. The fact that he even dares to quote the Bible and puts in Matthew infuriates me, by the way.
As it should.
But this is blasphemous, and this is the height of manipulation, manipulating the media, manipulating the truth, even going to manipulate the Bible.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this is an insult, and, I don't, salon, whatever, but I just think they, at the very least, owe it to their readers to at least allow, for example, a reaction from Speaker Johnson.
Yes.
I would like to.
Would you like to care to comment on what we wrote?
And let him write a little something. They don't have to give him, because, they're not going to give him a big word count.
No.
Let him respond to that, because I think he would have quite an eloquent response. The lies and the smearing against Johnson have been incredible.
Yep.
And, people didn't know who he was.
Right.
And then they just and they're taking advantage of that, Nick.
Oh, of course.
Right. And this is where, when I say Republicans, GOP, you're getting played.
Mm-hmm.
They needed to put out information about him, his family, what he stands for immediately.
Right. Before the left jumps on it and does their typical smear campaign.
Because nobody knew who he was. And so therefore they have a field day. And it's like, that old saying that first impressions.
Yep.
And so they're just putting it out there so that everybody has that impression that's lasting.
Yep.
To say, oh, this guy, he's a nut job.
I know.
He's extreme.
Republicans are never proactive, and I'm talking about the party itself, when in Washington, to get out ahead of these types of things and have a plan. Yet we're always forced to read something or hear a soundbite, react to it, and then get outraged by it because it's patently false. But we're never ahead of the curve. We're always reacting. It's like, police sometimes you think are there to prevent and deter crime, but most of the time they're usually reacting to crime. That's how I feel like Republicans are. We always have to react to this stuff instead of getting out in front of it.
Yeah, to your point, my greatest criticism, and think about your big take this morning. Elon Musk revealed to us. Elon Musk, thank God for him, because he figured it out and figured out how important this was, that as somebody with a global view, he figured out that Twitter was being used as a left-wing propagandist that he likens to the Soviet Union back in the day of, Lenin and, God forbid, the Communist Party, etc. And so it took Elon Musk, not the GOP, not the Republican. Nobody figured that out.
Yep.
And so they're always, in a sports analogy, they never have a good offense.
Yeah, we're always playing defense.
Yep.
Right? It's an absolutely perfect analogy for sure.
It's Friday Night Football tonight, so I do have, I'm already saying prayers.
We're the boys playing that tonight, by the way.
Oh, jeez. It's Dallas week for the Eagles. For us, it's Malvern.
Uh-oh.
It's Malvern Prep. I mean, they have...
rivalry week.
Well, Penn Charter is the big one next week. But Malvern is, they've already... You see some of their kids, by the way, and I don't mean to, totally... Some of their kids are already signed up. They're going to play for Notre Dame. Okay? These kids, you look at them, they look like a 25-year-old man.
Grown
They're,
man.
amazing.
Yeah.
And they have they're like, St. Joe's Prep, Malvern.
Right. Yep.
I mean, they're Malvern's 7-1. Anyway, I don't mean to digress into kids and
so it could be a
high
rough
school
night.
football.
Could be a rough night.
Yeah. And so, I always say, don't get played. Don't let your head, don't take off the focus as far as your head game.
Right.
For Republicans, I mean, just jumping back into that conversation, it's really the same thing. It's like they're children. They are always distracted. I'm talking about the GOP leadership.
Yes.
They're always distracted. They don't have a handle on the media.
Nope.
And so they always seem surprised.
They do.
It's a huge mistake. And Ronna McDaniel, I know Ronna, they really tried to get rid of her.
Right.
And I know she tries her best. The woman is just, she needs to, I don't know, they need to have a whole team. I don't know if Daniel Valdez is actually going to go work for, somebody who's media savvy.
Yeah.
Daniel Valdez.
He would do a better job than she does.
Would do a better job as far as the media and figuring out steps ahead like a chess game.
Yep.
And Daniel just graduating from Newman College, leaving us, which we're all really sad about today.
Yeah, he had enough
going
of
on
the
to work
$9 an hour.
But he's going to work for a full-time media company. We'll try to steal him back. But I would say Daniel Valdez, we're so proud of him, would actually do a better job at being media savvy and looking ahead, looking down the road. What are they going to do next?
Yep, I agree.
It's frustrating.
It really is. 855-839-1210, the phone number. We'll come back, kickoff hour number 2. Dawn's got some news on the way. And also, did you check your Halloween candy for your kids? Some scary stories on the other side. It's Kayal and Company, hour 2, next on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
You are not your diagnosis.
A medical chart is not your identity.
And vision loss does not define you.
Your drive shows who you are.
And you are not alone.
Because we are driven too.
To be a beacon of strength.
A champion of courage.
An advocate for hope.
You are not alone.
Because we are stronger together.
We drive the research for the cures we are finding.
We're fighting macular degeneration,
retinitis pigmentosa,
Usher syndrome,
and the entire spectrum of blinding retinal diseases.
We fund.
We fight.
We win.
We
are the foundation fighting blindness.
Together, we are fighting blindness.
Join the fight at fightingblindness.org.
WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
The thought of my sons growing up without me inspired me to quit smoking.
I talked to my doctors, and then I threw away all my cigarettes, ashtrays, and lighters.
I started exercising instead of smoking.
Getting support from friends online kept me on track.
Staying away from alcohol when I was first quitting was key.
Instead of smoking after I ate, I'd get up and take a walk.
I missed having a cigarette in my hand, so I'd hold a pen or a straw, anything.
Until I knew I wouldn't give in to temptation, I spent more time with my friends who didn't smoke.
I went to places that were smoke-free.
I didn't stay quit the very first time I tried.
I kept on trying, and I learned something each time.
Do whatever it takes.
No matter how many times it takes.
I quit.
I quit.
I quit.
We did it, so can you.
You can quit. For free help, call 1-800-QUIT-NOW. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and CDC.
NHL star Matt Martin for American Humane.
Hi, I'm Matt Martin, and in all my years of playing professional hockey, I've gotten my share of bruises and injuries. But for many who really put their lives on the line every day, it's not always the injuries you can see that hurt the most. I'm talking about our veterans. Every single day, 184 veterans are diagnosed with post-traumatic stress, and tragically, 20 take their own lives. When medications and therapy don't help, professionally trained service dogs can. American Humane, serving the U.S. military for over 100 years, has put together a free guide to help veterans obtain these life-saving service animals. If you are a veteran or know a veteran struggling with PTS, please go to AmericanHumane.org for this free, downloadable resource. Let's give our veterans the help they need to win their battle.
For more information, visit AmericanHumane.org.
Heart disease and stroke can be catastrophic. They're leading causes of death, disability, and healthcare spending in the U.S., yet they're largely preventable. Alarmingly, heart disease and stroke are taking a toll on middle-aged adults 35 to 64, with over 800,000 deaths and hospitalizations in 2016. Million Hearts is a national initiative focused on preventing 1 million heart attacks, strokes, and other cardiovascular events by 2022. Coordinated actions by Million Hearts partners in communities, healthcare, and public health will keep people healthy, optimize care, and improve outcomes in populations at risk. Everyone has a part to play. Focus on the ABCs of heart health. A. Aspirin use when appropriate. B. Blood pressure control. C. Cholesterol management. And S. Smoking cessation. To learn more, visit cdc.gov/vital signs.
Dom Giordano at noon. Kayal and Company now on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT and the free Odyssey app.
Heading down south to the land of the pines. I'm thumbing my way into North Carolina, staring up the road and pray to God I see headlights.
Kayal and Company, Hour 2, Friday, 7:05. Good to have everybody in. Nick, Dawn, Daniel, Anthony, Phil with you. Stalker with the morning off as we head until 10 o'clock this morning. 855-839-1210 is how you jump in. You can get us on Twitter and Instagram, and, of course, go to YouTube. I'll do the little pandering that Stalker likes to do. Go to youtube.com/at1210WPHT. Hit the like and subscribe buttons. We're going to try to get to, what are we going to get to, 200 likes today? I think that's typically the goal of Stalker. And subscribe as well, because we do want to get to 5,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel for the station before Thanksgiving, which
Only
is
about 2,000 off.
2,000 off?
Yeah, you're at 4.84.
No, that's 200. Less than 200.
I can't do math. That's why I have a communications degree.
I think it's 4,840.
Yeah, around that.
Yeah, so we have about 160 subscribers to go, I think, until we get to 5,000. But that was a nice work out of Valdez. It'll be his last day on the show. So we'll do a best of Daniel Valdez coming up in the 9 o'clock hour.
Aww.
It'll last all of 8 seconds.
Stop. Maybe 5.
All right, let's get some news. 7:06, round number 2 on this Friday morning. And for that, we go to the great Dawn Stensland.
And good morning. We're chilly right now. We're still in the 50s this morning, but we have a big warm-up coming up weather-wise this Friday, November the 3rd. I'm a little distracted. I was looking for the update on this breaking news this morning. Within less than 45 minutes ago, reports of a very large police presence. This is North Philadelphia, a barricade situation. Pennsylvania State Police called to the scene. SWAT, a very large presence of Philadelphia police officers converging there. Police took 3 people into custody at a home on Lawrence Street, right near Clearfield while serving warrants.
Oh, boy.
And so I dread to hear this when they're serving warrants, and we have so many, lately, we have so many criminals and killers that they're searching for. So serving warrants out here, a very dangerous situation, as we well know, for police officers. A fourth person barricaded themselves inside the home after they were serving the warrants, and I guess got 3 of the people under arrest. So it's the second floor where the person is barricaded. I don't have any reports of injuries at this time. I don't know if shots have been fired. I only know there's a huge police presence in that area, so we're following that very carefully.
You said that's in Northeast?
It's North Philadelphia.
Oh, North. Oh, boy.
So it's Lawrence Street near Clearfield.
Okay.
We have protesters arrested. I don't know what the charges are or if they're holding people overnight and then releasing them. That's the question about these protesters. About 25 arrested at Philadelphia's 30th Street station while demanding a Gaza ceasefire. So protesters with Jewish Voice for Peace, the Philly Palestine Coalition, and If Not Now took over the transportation terminal, 30th Street Station in Philadelphia last night, and brought it to a standstill. So they were outside, then went inside, hundreds and hundreds of people. And so they were blocking the entrances. In other words, if you were trying to catch your Amtrak train, you couldn't get down to the train because they were blocking those entrances.
Mm-hmm.
So finally, after hours, about 9 o'clock, they started arresting people.
Yep.
So we didn't have any reports of injuries, thank goodness. But I don't know what the resulting charges. I'm not seeing if those 25 were charged or what were they charged with.
You know, I was just thinking about this, and for all the coverage that we've had on this, I don't think I have put these two together and made this statement, so I'm going to do it for the first time. The same people that have Ukraine flags in their house, on their porch, in their yard, wearing a Ukraine lapel or the Ukraine flag on their Twitter profile, that are all in support of Ukraine defending themselves against Russia, are vehemently opposed to Israel and their right to defend themselves from Hamas. I just, 4 weeks in, the light bulb just went off for me with these people showing. I guarantee you, these people are all Ukrained up, pro-Ukraine. Hey, let's stick it to the Russians. You will not take over our country. Yet they don't have that same opinion when it comes to Israel. Fascinating level of hypocrisy, if you think about it.
Yeah, amen to that. The other headline in an overnight raid, the headline is Israel, the IDF, killing Hamas, the commander of Hamas, and capturing dozens of wanted Hamas terrorist suspects. And so that headline overnight, as I update the Israel situation, as President Joe Biden calls for a ceasefire, and as we're talking about the local resulting, rallies that we're updating you on. As well, the House of Representatives, led by the new Speaker Johnson, passing this $14 billion package for Israel, but it does not contain any aid for Ukraine.
Yep, standalone.
Yes, standalone. And they still kept in there that they would take funds from the IRS. I know we've talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they voted for. They'd take the 14 from the IRS.
Good.
So that they don't affect obviously the federal deficit, et cetera.
Yeah, defund the IRS and defend Israel. But as we know, Joe has said that if that got to his desk, he would veto it.
Yeah, and so it has to go to the Senate, and Senate Democrats already saying it's not going to happen, to your point.
Yep.
But we want to give those headlines as well. And then a family locally demanding justice after their middle school son was gunned down Halloween night in the suburbs. This has been Salem. So candlelight vigils, prayers, calls for justice after that shooting. 14-year-old Peter Romano gunned down a 9th grader at Snyder Middle School. And his dad wants him remembered for his upbeat personality, a great kid. And we don't have a lot of information about that 7:35 p.m. shooting Halloween night, Bristol Pike, Woodbine Avenue. Large group of teenagers. A guy drives by in a vehicle, opens fire, fires about 12 shots into the crowd, killing the 14-year-old Peter, injuring a 17 and 19-year-old who are expected to survive. But the question is, who's the gunman and where did he go? They don't even have a good description. And so this is concerning, obviously. Did he go into Philadelphia? Did he flee to another state? Where is this guy? and what was the connection? What was the motive? We don't have any of that information this morning, and so calls for answers with regard to that one. We've talked about the fact that President Joe Biden, First Lady Jill, traveling to Maine today, mourning the community of Lewiston after those 18 were killed in the deadliest mass shooting in state history there in Maine. 13 people injured in the October 25th shootings at a bar and a bowling alley. That's going on. And another headline that I'll give you is that the FTX founder, Sam Bankman-Fried, convicted of defrauding those cryptocurrency customers.
Guilty on all charges and faces up to 110 years in prison. Bye-bye. The biggest donor to the Democratic Party in the United States of America is going away for good, folks. Yeah. They used him as a pawn, didn't they?
Well,
yeah,
they
we'll
sure
take
did.
all of your money, and then we will do nothing to help you once you keep us in power.
Talk about hitting rock bottom. The guys have, I don't know how long he'll last in prison with his
he's got no
privileged
chance.
lifestyle.
I don't know many people that are built for the prison life, but this guy is not one of them, that's for sure.
I like to think I'm built for the prison life.
You know what? I'll take you over SBF.
Oh, my
Valdez
goodness.
would last longer than Sam Bankman.
The first time he took me over anyone.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, you would actually be eating better in prison, Valdez, than working on a radio salary.
know.
Probably.
Prisoners eat better than radio producers.
Well, it's a big, it's Dallas weekend, as we say. Eagles, Dallas, a lot of news swirling around that with rookie Tyler Steen could get his first start at right guard against the Cowgirls. I say wink, wink. Also, remember daylight savings, spring forward, fall back, daylight saving time coming to an end for 2023. And so we have to remember its clocks will officially fall back 1 hour, 2 a.m., November 5th. So timepieces should be changed before bedtime. So remember that one this weekend. So it's Saturday into Sunday, right?
So we lose an hour, correct?
Oh, now see, you're going to get me.
I think it was
So
fall
back an hour. Yes.
Fall back, spring
Spring
ahead.
forward.
Yeah. So fall back, that means clocks go back. We gain an hour.
So and I was looking
Right?
ahead because, is that right? Do we gain or lose? See, I'm bad at this one.
If we bring the clocks back an hour, that means it'll be darker an hour earlier. So it's instead of 6 p.m., it's 5 p.m., which means we actually would gain an extra hour of sleep. I don't know. Twitter will correct us if we're
I think
wrong.
don't we gain an hour?
Do
If
we?
it goes back, if it's 2 o'clock and then you put it back to 1 a.m., aren't you gaining an hour?
That's correct. Gaining.
You gain an hour.
Yeah,
Right?
you gain an hour of sleep technically. But then again, once we do this, it'll be dark at like 4:48 p.m., and that's when I start to pour my first cocktail.
There's all kinds of legislation proposed to make it to just pick one or the other.
Yeah, I think we should just get rid of it, right? Isn't it really an archaic, dated concept?
Yes.
I mean, it was just based off of farmers back in the day. Not that farmers don't still exist, but I don't know that we really need to do this anymore.
But they have to have it. It would require an act of Congress.
Oh, well, then I guess we can
believe.
expect nothing to happen.
Well, this is the forecast, speaking of daylight time. So the sun's not even up yet because I think the sunrise is in about 15 minutes. But we do have a beautiful day and a beautiful weekend in store. NBC 10 first alert forecast. Sunny through Sunday, 60 degrees today, 62 degrees for your Saturday, and then Sunday, Eagles, 425. So, we're looking for 65 beautiful degrees and sunshine for your Sunday. Kayal and Company, News Live.
Thank you very much, Dawn. 855-839-1210 if you want to jump in. Quickly, in the news, I just wanted to mention this because I did tease this a little while ago. Two terrible stories that you never want to hear about when it comes to trick-or-treating and Halloween candy. And I know we had that conversation about letting kids be kids and, stop being such a stickler with Halloween, which in some regards I certainly agree with. But this coming out courtesy of Fox News, and it happened right here in Pennsylvania. An observant parent in PA made a disturbing discovery after taking a bite from their child's Halloween candy and then alerted police to a sewing needle that was planted inside of the sugary treat. This happened in Silver Spring Township. So according to Silver Spring Township and their police department, this is Cumberland County, Tuesday at 7:03 p.m., officers were dispatched to the first block of Pine Hill Avenue for needles that were found in candy distributed during the night's festivities. One needle was found after a parent bit into a piece of candy after they picked it up off of the ground. Police urging trick-or-treaters to check their candy. So parents, especially if they have little kids, check their candy before they eat it after the parent found this in the Halloween candy. And then I also see another story that happened in New York. The Messina Police Department, it sounds like somewhere in upstate New York, said a trick-or-treater wound up with a bag of marijuana edibles on Halloween. I think if you're an adult and edibles are your thing, you're probably happy about that, but probably don't want that to end up in the hands of your children. The bag showed that it contained 600 milligrams of edibles, and officials say that if parents find a similar bag of candy, they're urged to bring it to the authorities. According to poisoncontrol.org, children who eat edibles containing cannabis can experience vomiting, dizziness, difficulty walking, a rapid heart rate, drowsiness, confusion, and breathing difficulty. So I know we talked about the trick-or-treating and letting kids be kids, but I still to this day, I remember this is like branded on my skull. My mom would always, we were not allowed to eat the candy on Halloween night. Like once we went to bed, she would inspect it and then the next day give the green light to it.
Yeah, the truth is it's rare.
Oh, of course, yes.
And I'm always suspicious. Like, who put the needle in the candy in you're talking about Cumberland County. I would love to know, how many, because if it's just one instance, how could that be? If somebody put one needle in one candy piece or 3 candy pieces.
You got some sick people out there.
Yeah, but it's bizarre.
It is.
We also don't grab candy from the ground.
Well, that's true too. Yeah. Why are you picking up unless you just dropped it yourself out of your own, your own bag or bucket or whatever people use these days?
Yeah. And then for the edibles, how old was that? Was that one of these 16 or 17-year-olds?
Well, if it was, that kid was probably pretty happy.
Yeah, they're not mine. They were in my candy bag, Mom.
Why are you having foam come out of your mouth, Johnny? What are you been taking tonight?
Gosh.
Yeah. All right, so that's that. 855-839-1210. Coming up next, a great GOP gain in Pennsylvania. Republicans chipping away at the lead that the Democrats have with voter registration. Some of the details and some of the counties are going to be a bit of a surprise to you. We'll give you those details on the other side. Kayal and Company, Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Do you have heart failure and often hear,
"Those stomach issues ruined your birthday"?
You're too tired to play catch, Grandpa?
Sweetie, you haven't touched your tools since the carpal tunnel syndrome diagnosis.
If these seemingly unrelated symptoms sound familiar, talk to your cardiologist. Ask about transthyretin amyloid cardiomyopathy, or ATTR-CM, a rare and underdiagnosed disease that gets worse over time. Learn more at connecttoyourheart.com. That's connecttoyourheart.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
At Simply Safe Home Security, your safety is the only thing that matters. That's why you get 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day, because every home deserves to be protected. Right now, get 50% off the whole home security system named the best of 2023 by U.S. News and World Report. Visit simplysafe.com/radio to save big today. Advanced Home Security, 24/7 professional monitoring for less than $1 a day. There's no safe like Simply Safe.
Is the IRS after you? Do you owe them more than you'll ever be able to pay? Are they levying your bank account, garnishing your paycheck? Are you staying up all night worrying they'll take everything you have? Are they bullying you into doing something you know is wrong? If so, you need somebody on your side that's not afraid to go toe-to-toe with them. Somebody that's not afraid to fight them. Somebody experienced in beating them at their own game and helping you. That person is Charles Montesino. He's a certified public accountant and certified tax resolution specialist. He's one of fewer than 200 in the entire country with both designations. He's known as the tax problem solver because he solves tax problems. The IRS is the biggest collection agency in the world. They don't always play fair. You need to even the playing field. Stop being bullied and get help from a professional that knows how to beat them. Call 609-970-4634. That's 609-970-4634. He's the taxpayer's advocate. He works for you. That's 609-970-4634.
Have you heard all the talk about fresh pet food? Well, at Dogs and Cats Rule, when it comes to fresh, healthy ingredients, we we lead the way. Hi, I'm George Parenti, and I'm here to tell you there's nothing better nutrition-wise than fresh food for your pet. Stop in to one of our 7 neighborhood locations and ask our expert staff how a real, fresh, meat-based diet can change your pet's overall health and well-being. Shop online at dogsandcatsrule.pet. Dogs and Cats Rule. Shop small, shop local, shop family.
There's nothing like football season. And this year, fans in Philly can listen to Penn State football free. Catch every Nittany Lions game live with Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Free on the Odyssey app. Every touchdown, every tackle, every win. All right here. To get started, download the Odyssey app today. That's AUDACY. And search for WPHT. Available for Philadelphia listeners only. Calling on Sewell, New Jersey to follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Kayal Company, 724, live on a Friday morning. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT. Get us on the free Odyssey app. Watch us live on YouTube. What's on the cut sheet? Coming up in just about 20 minutes' time. Stalker out today, so we will have I believe, a joint production of the cut sheet between Valdez and Renzo. Just taking a look at what some of it may include and may entail, and a lot of good stuff, a good variety coming up, as Soccer will give the reins of the cut sheet to the Utes, DeRenzo and Valdez. 855-839-1210. Also still ahead this morning, a Democrat judge overturns an election in Connecticut after undeniable shenanigans. For those that think it's on the, not on the up and up come election time with ballots and big dumps coming in late in the night, wait till you see this. We actually have the video footage as well. This is a very fascinating story at the local level. But speaking of the local level, if you are a Republican, you should be very happy this morning because we are seeing great gains with the GOP in Pennsylvania. I saw this breakdown from PennCapitalStar.com, and it's a voter registration update for the state of Pennsylvania, and it highlights each region of the state with every county, and Republicans are enjoying a strong year ahead of the election. According to this article, since the last voter registration update in October of 2022, Pennsylvania Republicans have seen impressive gains all across the Commonwealth. According to this was written by a guy named Nick Field. He says back then, the statewide Democratic margin, they had about a 500,000 voter advantage, 549,288. A lead that has now since been whittled down to 445,980, which is a shift of over 103,000 in favor of the Pennsylvania GOP. And he breaks this down by literally regions with all the counties that would fall in each, chunk of the state, so to speak. And you can see the gains literally county by county where the Republicans have picked up. I'll just highlight a few of them, and then we'll get some thoughts and reaction to this. So in central Pennsylvania, you've got about, it looks like 12 different counties. Lycoming County is one that really stands out to me. That's where I went to college for my first year in Williamsport. And then you go to northeast Pennsylvania. You have Carbon County, Lackawanna, Luzerne, Monroe, Pike County, Schuylkill County, Susquehanna County. Some of these counties, like Lackawanna County, has picked up an additional 2,900 Republicans. Luzerne County, almost an additional 4,000 Republicans. Northwest Pennsylvania, you have counties like Clarion and Erie, PA, and Mercer. They have picked up a bunch. Erie has picked up about 3,000 Republicans. Mercer County, just about 1,500. You go to South Central Pennsylvania, Lancaster, York. We're talking about York's picked up about 1,900. And then we get to the counties that we're most familiar with, Southeast Pennsylvania. You have Berks County has gained 4,000 Republicans. Bucks County, 3,500. Chester County and Delaware County have actually picked up Democrats. Chester, 104 new Democrats. Delaware, 898 new Democrats. But then you get to Philadelphia County, plus 26,000 new Republicans. Northampton County, which is where Greg Stocker and I are from, 2,400. Lehigh County, which is the Allentown area, about 3,000 new Republicans. And even the county that I reside in now, which is very blue, Montgomery County, has picked up 430 Republicans. So what do we make of this? We've talked about Pennsylvania and Joe Biden having a Pennsylvania problem, according to the latest data in the polling ahead of 2024. But it's about a 20% chip away by Republicans, just kind of methodically carving away this lead that the Democrats have. So I think that's, if you're looking for some good news on a Friday, and we know Pennsylvania will be a battleground state. We know, and Dawn, you've talked about this at the grassroots level, these, I don't want to say low level, but the most entry level of elections. Elections have consequences, and this is great news.
Yeah, it is. I hope that there's a revival now, because more and more people, and this goes back to more and more people are paying attention. And this goes back to what we were talking about, and you were talking about earlier, as far as people losing trust in certain institutions.
Mm-hmm.
So people, I think, are now becoming more and more savvy.
Yeah.
And I think part of that makes you realize, once you start investigating for yourself and then going down through researching anything, you realize that you've been lied to.
Mm-hmm.
And so I always say to people, don't take my word for it or one individual's word for it. Look for yourself and look beyond the so-called mainstream media.
Right.
And then once your eyes are open to it, it's just like anything else, and you know the truth when you see it,
yeah,
and you know the lies when you see them.
And it's amazing too that sometimes it takes this long for people to realize it. We know that historically, the older you get, the more conservative you become. But if you just use common sense and you compare the two parties right now and what both parties stand for and what their platforms are based on, you'll realize that the Republican Party is just very much pro common sense. And then also the actions and the failed policies in play of Democrats. I mean, we've seen these progressive policies, no matter which county you go to, no matter which big blue city you live in, or even a blue county, you see these terrible policies in practice in real time in your real life. And you're like, wow, it doesn't work. Those crazy Republicans on talk, maybe they have a point. And then all of a sudden you start to see, like in Philadelphia County, an additional 27,000 registered Republicans. That's a very big boost when we talk about Southeast Pennsylvania. When you look at the counties I gave you, Northampton, Lehigh, Montgomery, Bucks, Berks, Philadelphia, Delco, Chester, Philadelphia County seeing really, and I know population matters, but you're seeing a big spike for registered Republicans. So I think that's a good thing. We'll see if we can keep that going. I'd love to see that trim down another 100,000 by the time we get to November 3rd, 2024. Not that something's coming up a few days after that, but we're counting down those days. 855-839-1210. All right, so when we come back, this is not a referendum on 2020. This is not a referendum for Kerry Lake 2022. But this evidence is undeniable, and when a Democratic judge says, yep, not so fast, you absolutely have something there. We'll get to it. The undeniable what happened in Connecticut with the local election. We'll get to that on the other side. It's Kayal and Company on Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
Rich Zioli.
Dr. EJ and Tony, do you think she sounds like the serial killer from Silence of the Lambs?
Very involved, very vibrant.
What a waste of his talent. You have a well-respected economist in studio, and you're asking him to compare clips between Janet Yellen and the killer from Silence of the Lambs.
Alleged killer. He was never found guilty in a court of law.
Depending on how the Senate testimony goes on Tuesday, the public may be getting more out of this segment than they will out of that.
Rich Zioli, weekday afternoons 3 to 7. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT, and on the free Odyssey app.
It's that time of year again to consider replacing your old drafty windows and doors before another long, cold winter season rolls in. And the great people at Guida Door and Window will help make your window and door replacement project more affordable with their buy one, get one half off sale. For every door or window you buy, you'll get a second one at 50% off. And you can mix and match the savings to suit your own needs. Buy an entry door, get half off a storm door. Buy a patio door, get 50% off a window. Need to replace all the windows and doors in your house? Well, you save 50% on half your project. The more you need, the more you save. Plus, Guida is making it easier for you to afford your project with no money down and interest-free financing for up to 18 months. Act now. Offers for a limited time only. Restrictions apply. For full details, call Guida today to schedule a free, no-obligation in-home estimate at 1-877-GO-GUIDA or visit them at GoGuida.com. That's GUIDA.com.
If you have Medicare plan questions and are turning 65 and getting inundated by mail and phone calls, learn the A, B, C, and D's of Medicare. Let the Senior Store answer all of your questions. Get your free evaluation today by visiting the Enrollment Center. Call a local Senior Store licensed agent at 877-YOU-LEARN-65 or by setting up an in-home visit. That's 877-YOU-LEARN-65 or visit theSeniorStore.com. Enrollment starts October 15th. Not affiliated with the U.S. government or federal Medicare program. Comedian Joe Conklin.
It's Chip Snapper's Tap Room.
By the way, the girls on the avenue wanted me to let you know that even though the Phillies didn't go all the way this year, they will, and it'll only cost you about $11.
That's Conklin's comedy show at St. Ignatius Church in Yardley, November 4th, and the Sillersville Theater on November 18th. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com.
You get up every morning and make it all work. You make the hospitals and the labs work. You keep the shelves stocked, the cash registers ringing, the production lines producing. At Vestas, we have the uniforms and workplace supplies you need to do what you do every day. When you think uniforms, floor mats, first aid kits, restroom supplies, think Vestas. Vestas, uniforms and workplace supplies for the people who make it all work. Learn more at Vestas.com.
Don't miss a special edition of the Labor and Energy Show with J. Doc and Krause, sponsored by Advocacy United, this Saturday at noon. Find out about the important issues that'll affect you. The Labor and Energy Show, this Saturday at noon on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
You know, I'm just watching the sunrise over Philadelphia and just imagining that I'm watching the sunrise beyond the Isle of Capri. Yeah, that's right. The Amalfi Coast, Positano, Sorrento, Capri. Join me next spring as we discover the wonderful sights in southern Italy with our friends from Conservative Tours. I'm talking about seeing the Abbey of Monte Cassino, Pompeii. Enough time to see all the great ancient sites in Rome as well, all while enjoying a gastronomical event for 12 days of touring. I can't wait. You got to do this. Olive oil production, a mozzarella farm, wineries, tasting sessions. The group dining events, by the way, they're known for are legendary. You can ask my friend Dom Giordano and his better half row. $52.67. That includes your airfare nonstop while supplies last. I can just smell the lemon groves outside my hotel window in Sorrento. All you have to do is call toll-free 888-733-9494. If you want to learn more, just go to conservativetours.com. Scroll up, you'll see my picture. Yes, Larry Menti, my husband's going, Michael and David, my son. So for us, this is truly a family trip of a lifetime. And we're going to see Italy's best-kept secret, Puglia. Charming villages, unparalleled cuisine, the best food ever. See why so many Italians take their vacations in Puglia. Picturesque, unspoiled, authentically Italian. Conservativetours.com. Tell them Dawn sent you.
Don't let woke win. Follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Kayal Company, baby, 7:37 Friday morning. Sun coming up. still probably pretty chilly outside. Nick, Dawn, Greg's got the morning off. Daniel, Anthony, Phil here. It's Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Get us on the free Odyssey app. Get on over to YouTube, youtube.com/@1210 WPHT. We're going to play you this video coming up in just a few moments about what happened in Connecticut, but you'll also want to be there for the cut sheet as well. And during the break, we were talking, and Phil came into the studio to give me the details on Pennsylvania. We were talking about daylight saving and, the clock going back and all of that, and it being a little bit brighter earlier, which is always great for us doing morning radio, or if you like to go on a bike ride or a jog when the weather's good and things like that. But also the counter to that is, by 5 o'clock, it's pretty close to dark. So in Pennsylvania, and we were talking about maybe getting away from the whole daylight savings concept, Phil printed this out for me. He says that the Pennsylvania House narrowly passed a measure in April of 2021 to make daylight saving time permanent, pending congressional approval, but the bill failed to gain traction in the Senate, and that's where it died. For the 2023 session, State Senator Scott Martin has reintroduced a resolution urging the federal government to repeal the Uniform Time Act of 1966, which allows states to choose for themselves which time the procedure to follow. The motion is still pending. Other bills filed in 2023 looking to abolish daylight savings time change the state to Atlantic Standard Time and to observe daylight saving time year-round are also pending. So
it was I think it was a Republican.
Was it?
From Lehigh County, Ryan McKenzie.
Okay.
Just this year.
Okay.
Had reintroduced a bill for permanent daylight savings time, but like we said earlier, they can't move. They can't really do anything without an act of Congress.
Right.
And I think Congress is pretty busy with other things.
That's
so
correct.
I don't know that they're going to get this done.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, though, when we talk about when the sun comes up or when the sun goes down, there's nothing better than when you hit the heart of summer and it's 7:45, 8 o'clock, like on a Friday or Saturday night, and the sun is still up and it's starting to set. I love playing golf late in the afternoon in the summer because it's a cheaper tee time. Like, you can get on the same course for $52 as opposed to going out at 8 in the morning for $89 and being stuck behind everybody and turning it into a 5-hour ordeal. But there's nothing better than walking off the golf course as the sun is setting. You get a cocktail in the clubhouse and you sit out on the patio for a little bit.
Nice.
I just dread, November 25th. It's 4:48 and it's, 41 degrees out and it's dark and I'm just like, I am miserable. Don't I tell you, and this is not to mock anybody that really has depression. I say this somewhat tongue-in-cheek. I think I have seasonal depression. I don't like the winter. I go into a shell. I'm moody. I gain weight. I don't have a tan. I want to drink earlier. I hate as soon as football season's over and we hit February, and I'm like, man, I still have 8 weeks until it's actually going to be nice weather in Pennsylvania. It just kills me. It just destroys me.
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
In the winter months when the days get so short and and like you're saying, at least you have football, then you have the holiday season, and you can kind of look forward to that. But then we have the Mummers Day Parade, January 1st. Yes. Yeah, Larry and I'll be hosting. Then January 2nd, the new mayor will be sworn in Philadelphia.
Yep.
And then right about then, well, maybe we in Philadelphia have to look forward to the Eagles in the Super Bowl.
That is correct.
So that helps. So if we are a contender, then that really helps get you through.
That's right.
I'm serious.
I look at my friends. I look at Kristen. I look at family members middle of February, early March, and I'm like, just get me to the Masters. Yeah. Once we get to the Masters, that second week in April, I know we've made it, and we've got 6-7 months of great weather ahead.
You mean to tell me that you don't have a drink at 11 a.m. in the summer?
11 a.m. in the summer? No, that's nap time. See, the nap's beneficial for me in many ways. Yes. It helps my mental health. It prevents me from drinking too soon because I can't drink in my sleep. But yeah, no. 11 a.m. a cocktail?
Yeah, man.
Dude.
It's in the summer. I'm on vacation all summer.
Well,
not anymore.
Not anymore. This is going to be. Is this a 9 to 5, by the way, that you'll be doing now?
So Monday through Friday. It's
And for those that don't know, Valdez final day today. He's leaving for a full-time job elsewhere outside of radio.
So Monday through Friday, it's 9 to 5. But then I will be traveling to different events. It's a live event company, so
Okay.
like graduations, corporate events, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
When I'm traveling, it's whenever scheduled, but there's also times I might be traveling around the country as well.
And this is video.
pretty cool.
This is video
Yeah,
related.
as a video technician.
Okay.
Yeah, but 9 to 5 Monday through Friday in the warehouse.
Okay. There you go. Valdez, all the video work he did for the YouTube channel pays off, and now he's leaving Stalker in his dust.
I know.
There you go. All right. 855-839-1210. Cut sheet coming up in about 4 minutes. But this is worth talking about for a couple of minutes here because a judge just overturned the primary election in Bridgeport, Connecticut over bombshell evidence of voter fraud. Now, the judge is a Democrat here, and Democrat operatives in Bridgeport were basically caught stuffing ballot drop boxes. If you're not on YouTube, go on over to YouTube, youtube.com/@1210WPHT. Hit the like and subscribe buttons, and we have this video for you. There's no audio. It's just kind of like surveillance video, and you will see this individual making this drop off. So this is the question that the GOP has to be asking themselves. What are they going to do to stop this from happening again in future elections, whether it's in 2023? We know Virginia's got some stuff coming up, 2024, obviously. And so if you're watching right now, you'll see this video. You've got people outside waiting in line, and then you've got more video of these individuals dropping off all of these ballots in the drop box. And this, some of the details of this. So an election was just overturned by a judge in Connecticut over mail-in fraud. We only know about this because it was just a local Democrat primary of no real consequences. Mail-in ballots plus zero ID plus voting machines plus millions of illegals is absolutely a recipe for permanent Democrat control. Paper ballots, same-day voting, voter ID, in my opinion, really the only way that you can absolutely ensure the most legitimate elections going forward. And I'm always caught up on the voter ID concept, to which many on the left will try to argue that showing identification is somehow an inconvenience, is somehow accusatory in nature, and we've even heard it to the extent of showing ID is racist. You're trying to make it more difficult for me to vote. We've debunked all of that. We have seen that in Georgia, the allegations of how difficult it was for you to vote are not true. In fact, New York, blue state, far more restrictive than red state Georgia. But I also want to point out a couple of things with this situation in Connecticut. So some of the details here, and I'm reading this from a political reporter who has a very detailed thread on this. I won't read all of it for the sake of time, but you'll get the picture and you'll get the hint here. So a Democrat judge in Connecticut has overturned the results of the mayoral primary election in Bridgeport and ordered a new election be held after bombshell video evidence of election fraud was found. Quote, the volume of ballots so mishandled is such that it calls the result of the primary election into serious doubt and leaves the court unable to determine the legitimate result of the primary. That is from a Democrat by the name of, his name is Judge Clark, who wrote in his ruling, adding that the videos are, quote, shocking to the court and should be shocking to all the parties. Judges across the country now have a case to go off of when ruling in future mail-in ballot fraud cases. This guy that wrote this tweet thread, if you want to read it, his Twitter handle is BEHIZY tweets. At BEHIZY tweets. He goes by the name of George. And this has got a massive reaction. And there's other videos of this group of Democrats stuffing ballot boxes, what looks to be at 5:42 in the morning. And the video surveillance is pretty clear and evident as to what's going on here. You know, Don, we've talked about this, a bazillion times about 2020. We certainly talked about it in the midterms of 2022. Carrie Lake feels like she was jobbed of winning the election. But right here in Connecticut, blue state with a Democrat judge saying, no, not so fast. We've got some shenanigans going on here. This doesn't prove every single case and every election has been tainted, But this one specifically gives credence to those that believe something doesn't smell right. And you can see it right here with this case specifically.
Yeah, and by the way, you have the working family parties like that. So in truth, I think we should all agree that we don't want any mail-in or any voting system to benefit any certain party or partisan group, because you never know who's going to use that against all of us to take over with something really crazy and out there.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it just behooves everybody to say, yeah, we want to make it right.
Yep.
We want transparency. And some of these unattended, mail-in ballot boxes, if they don't have all the cameras around them, etc.,
Right.
who monitors that? It's just, to your point, they're supposed to ensure that the mailing it in a mailbox is exactly the same as when you go in person. You have to sign.
Right.
And I don't think they have that down.
And I'm also tired of having to rely on cameras when we're told that for some reason the cameras went down. For some reason we ran into a technical snafu. I mean, we've, and I'm just throwing out random cases here. Jeffrey Epstein, all of a sudden prison cell, cameras are not working. Locally, remember our Philadelphia airport security? The cameras were not working when that officer of 2+ decades was shot by those punks. I mean, I don't want to rely on just video evidence because it's not absolute 100%. And you can't always guarantee that it's working. And I don't want to have all of these, nonsensical debates as to what exactly is going on here. So I thought that was important. I just retweeted the thread. It's got multiple videos and a full breakdown. So if you couldn't find the guy that I referenced on Twitter, I just retweeted it and added a comment. So you can see it on my Twitter at Nick Kayal, Kayal. All right, 7:49 Friday morning. Let's get to the last edition for the week of What's on the Cut Sheet.
What's on the cut sheet?
Before we get into it, Nick, let me just say, cameras just don't go down for the hell of it. There's no way the cameras can just not work anymore.
As a camera aficionado, you would know this.
Someone has to actually be messing with the cameras for them to just fail.
Stop working?
Right. Like that camera in there in your, that's always on. That just doesn't stop.
Some would hope that camera would fail, actually, so they can stop seeing my face.
Okay. That's right. We can just put a bag on both of ours and just have it on the whole time.
Hey, Stalker did a show with a bag on his head.
Well, that was funny.
It was. And then he got sick.
He's not sick, though, today, is he?
No, it's him and his wife.
No.
Or not, his son and his wife.
His son and his wife both got sick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The worst.
What's on the cut sheet, sponsored by Cherry Hill Volvo, where they have ample inventory of brand new and beautiful pre-owned Volvos. Enjoy the luxury experience you deserve. They always go the extra mile for their customers because relationships matter at Cherry Hill Volvo. Phil, I'm starting with cut 13 here. We played the video earlier, but there is another ballot stuffer. This time it was, basically all in Georgia. But this one was in broad daylight, and there's some commentary to it. But like I said, we played the video, but here's the audio for it, and you can blatantly see that she has multiple ballots in her hand, and people just don't care.
Okay.
What are we looking at here as we pull this up?
Same basic thing.
It looks like the same drop box.
Everybody, look at all those people doing the right thing.
So they're waiting to vote early,
to vote in line.
right?
Right.
So this is a maroon dress woman, or is this somebody else?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's.
Is that your mule?
That's our
That's
mule.
her.
So this is a mule.
In front of everyone.
Okay.
Look, everybody sitting there watching like, what?
So this
What's
is
happening?
right now as she opens it up. Can't figure out how to open up because they won't fit.
Right.
Felony at what point?
After the
Right
first
there.
Now it's a felony. So this is a felon. 3 felons at one drop box, everybody. I want you to think about that. One after the other. In broad daylight. I mean.
All wearing masks.
Now, you could also get driver's, license plate info and stuff, right?
Yes.
So she, in broad daylight, while everyone else was watching, just violated Georgia law.
Right.
Here's the thing. When you sit there and if you're watching on YouTube, you see what these people are doing, and nobody cares. Some of the people in line flat out not even aware that it's going on behind them. Others see it happening and just, they don't even care. They just let it go. We talk about threats to democracy, and we hear that phrase all the time from the left, sometimes from the right. To me, there's no bigger threat. I mean, maybe, the stifling of free speech with the First Amendment, obviously the Second Amendment with the right to bear arms. But at a very basic level, your right to vote and also knowing that all of your elections are on the up and up. If we can't live in a country where we don't have the feeling that our vote truly matters and all of us giving our vote will result in what the people want, then we don't have a democracy, right? That's the biggest threat to democracy, is when your voice can't be heard with what public officials and what governmental employees at any level, from the localist level, the municipality level, to a state governor's race, to the president of the United States. If we don't have faith in free and fair elections, then we don't have anything in this country. And, you know, on another note, and we'll obviously talk more about this as we get closer to election season, the fact that we make it so difficult and so complicated at times with tabulating results drives me insane. Like, there's just no reason that within 12 to 18 hours, we don't have an accurate total count on what the results are. Like, our election process, it's really not a complicated process. It's not rocket science. We have made it so muddy and so delayed and so infuriating, which is amazing because this is the United States of America. This is not some third world rinky-dink nation.
Sometimes it feels like, and this is just a perception thing, but it feels like because Republicans tend to vote in person, even though they've put out, you know, they're trying to now turn the tide and say to Republicans, vote early, vote by mail, etc. And so we've seen some election nights where it feels sort of strange that you have this vote come in and it's benefiting the Republicans. And so now the count starts of those mail-in ballots.
Yep.
And it almost feels like they're waiting to see, you know, like a card game, and they want to see your cards, right? And then they know, well, now we know what we have to beat.
Right, right.
And I'm not suggesting that that's what's happening, but the perception by, I think, a lot of people is that that's the perception.
Yes.
Okay. So I wish that if we're going to go to this time period where we don't have an election night per se.
Yep.
Like in Jersey, it was what, a week? It's basically like election week.
Right.
Vote early, New Jersey. I mean, that's what we hear. So I sometimes think, you know what? Maybe we should change the way we tabulate and release those numbers.
Yes. And also, there should be a way to conclude this before people go to bed. I mean, it's amazing how many times do you go to bed, it's 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and somebody's got a huge lead, and you feel like it might be over, or it's a sizable, comfortable gap, and then all of a sudden you'll wake up at 4 in the morning because you can't sleep or whatever, and you check the TV, and you say, well, where'd that lead just go? Where did these 200,000 votes just come from? So, there's a lot of it out there, and it's infuriating, and we've seen it at many different levels to many different degrees. But to me, at the end of the day, and I'd like to see more bodies involved, on a bipartisan level, and even if it means having to pay some people for their time and efforts. I know a lot of this is, based on volunteers, and you go to your local spot where you vote. I have to vote at a little local church in Bluebell, and there's people there just out of the goodness of their heart that volunteer. But, if we really want to get this right, let's compensate people for their time and get the best representation of people we can to oversee all of this.
But I don't get the fact that there was all those people in line, and she has multiple ballots in her hands, but, no one decided to do anything about it. Do you just think that they were, scared to think that they're going to get in trouble?
I just think people just don't care anymore.
Don't want to get involved.
Yep, don't want. I mean, what do we see? I know it's apples to oranges, but what happens when there's a fight that breaks out? Do people intervene, or do they keep going, or do they pull out their phone and start recording? It's like we live in a different society today, like this detached, non-interjecting world that we live in because we're just all kind of like in our own zombie apocalypse.
Well, there was on CNN around this time, they had they showed a ballot stuffer, and the interviewer, who was just like, oh, who are you voting for, this, that, they just brushed over it like nothing was happening. Right. Again, multiple ballots in their hands, just stuff in the boxes.
That's correct. Well, I mean, here's the I think a fair question to ask. How do we know that if that person has 3, that it's just not her mom, and her brother, and she went to drop all 3 off? I mean, I don't know that you can specifically say for sure that person individually is submitting multiple ballots, right? Because it is a drop box, so you could be doing on behalf of 2 or 3 people
But
in
you
your
can't
house.
do that.
Yeah, but that's supposed
That's
to be
illegal.
supervised. Yeah.
Because I couldn't go. In other words, if you can't do it in person, that you have to mimic what you do in person. So I can't go to my polling place in person in the Chestnut Hill section of Philadelphia and say, well, I'm going to vote for my husband and I'm going to vote for my son.
Right.
And, by the way, another relative who, used to live here and they don't live here, I might as well vote for them.
Right.
I can't do that.
Right.
So you can't. Now, there are provisions where if somebody's disabled or something, there are certain provisions for that. I know that. But that's not what this is.
Yeah. And to Anthony's point, like, where's the person that should be supervising that? Like, I mean, again, if you're short of bodies, then, well, maybe we need to, at any level, compensate these people and incentivize people to actually want to do it. I would love to do that. Like the lady at the little church in Bluebell, she's sitting there, she's asking me for my ID. I would do that all day.
Well, and to that point, when I went to vote during COVID, there were obviously most of them were drop boxes, and they had a police officer at the ballot and making sure that, and they said, "Can you confirm this is your ballot, only your ballot?" So, I mean, it seems like protocol like that wasn't being upheld everywhere.
Yep.
I also believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but to work in a polling place, like in terms of collecting all that stuff, you have to be elected by the county.
Oh, is that true?
Right?
Is
Yes,
that
no?
true?
Because in high school, one of my history teachers was like, yeah, I ran for something in county, and now I just sit there and collect IDs for polling.
I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of vetting process to be at that spot, but I don't know that you necessarily have to be elected for that.
Or like, I don't know. It was some kind of small county role that it had to do with polling.
Okay.
So I could be wrong, but I believe that's what it was, but I'm not entirely too sure.
In well, it depends on your municipality, but citizens serving as poll workers, I believe you get paid, but citizens working as poll workers, it depends on the municipality. But I don't think you have to be elected.
Well, it's nice to know that some of them get paid for it. I thought they just did that on a volunteer basis in the in the name of democracy.
It's probably more than what I'm making, let me tell you that.
You have to have a judge of election.
Okay.
But there are officials. I think there's a combination is the bottom line.
Yeah.
You do have some volunteers.
Mhm.
You have some who are, because I know the Sisters of St. Joseph. I know they're, the League of Women Voters. So there are some volunteers. There are some who get paid. But that there are some, you have your for example, your judge of election.
Yeah. I tell you what, I love election day as far as the process of going and getting in line next to other citizens, some of which you know who they're voting for, some of which you don't know, some of which maybe you don't even care. And just like the whole process. Like I remember going up to the lady, she's sitting there, she's got a little a foam cup of coffee. She's probably 72. She's got no cream or sugar in it. She's just drinking it black, which is the best way in my opinion to drink a coffee. And she's like, "Can I see your ID, please?" And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am, you absolutely can." I pull out the license, I hand it to her, and I go back into my little booth and do my thing. I love the process.
Some of them are just miserable, though.
Really? I've never encountered a miserable person.
Some of them are just like, I don't know why.
Are they younger people?
No.
No?
No, at the church that I go to back at my parents' house, some of
So
them...
this is in which county? This is not
Montgomery. This is
Montgomery.
Montgomery. Some of them are just, I was like, what are you doing? Like, why are you so mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I love it.
For Philadelphia, I'm just looking up Philadelphia, the city commissioners. They hire for an election season 8,500 citizens. You have to be a U.S. citizen.
Okay.
You have to be registered to vote and at least 18 years old.
Okay.
But if you're 17 years old and actively enrolled in a high school, you can get permission from your school, and then you can be eligible to be a poll worker, and you will be paid.
Oh, okay.
And so they get paid anywhere from $180 to $255 for the day.
Wow.
Depending on what you do.
That's way more than a radio producer gets for a day of work. Jeez.
Just by taking IDs? Come on
Yeah.
now.
Valdez is rethinking the video job that he just took. He's going to be a professional ID gatherer.
Work one day a week.
There you
and
go.
One day a year, actually. And yeah.
Nice work.
Bilingual interpreters, they hire them for $180 for the day.
Okay.
I could also do that.
180
Hispanic
to
roots.
180.
See?
Yeah, there you go.
Seriously, they do need bilingual people. And remember, we had that embarrassing thing in Philadelphia where we didn't even have some literature at the polling places. For the first time ever in the history of our old city,
Wow.
they offered it in Chinese. So I thought that was kind of cool, but they didn't. Previously, it was just
right.
Sucks to be you.
Uh-huh.
Other than they did have it in Spanish and English, but other than that, nobody else.
All right.
I also get ballots from the previous tenants in my apartment. They come to my mailbox.
Yeah.
Like
Really?
mail-in ballots, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
I don't take them. I just put them back in the mailbox.
But see, that's the question. When they're mailing them out ahead of time, and then is there a little squishy way that somebody, let's say at an apartment complex or a housing complex or a place, let's say a retirement home or a nursing home, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's where I know a lot of people are looking to that, saying, everybody in the nursing home seemed to vote, and they voted one way. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Who filled that out?
Uh-huh. Yep.
You spoke earlier about the protesters at 30th Street Station.
Mm-hmm.
However, no ceasefire means no trains. So I guess no one's getting anywhere any time soon.
That was the mantra. No ceasefire, no trains. Okay.
No ceasefire, no trains.
They better not be there today. I have to take a train today.
Why don't we just take this train and run these idiots over?
Again, I don't know what that has to correlate with trains or travel because we can't take the train over there, but it is what it is. Phil, this is cut 11. Go.
All right, so they're all sitting there, some of them on their knees, some of them sitting Indian style, most of them wearing masks, holding up signs and banners, ceasefire now, disrupting everybody's day, people's travel, people's commute. And, it's ridiculous to me that some of these individuals, I don't even understand really what their point of the protest is. So you want a ceasefire so you're in support of Gaza, you're in support of Palestine, you're possibly even in support of Hamas. And they were the initiators. They were the aggressors. Also, by the way, let's stop trying to call them a government because this is really a terrorist group. Because governments just don't walk in and behead children and babies and rape women and slaughter dogs. So you do that. Then, of course, you take hostages. And now that the Israelis, with the help of America, are fighting back and destroying all sorts of infrastructure, buildings, and killing your leaders, you want a ceasefire. To me, in my world, we don't even begin negotiating ceasefires until you release the hostages. That's just me, though.
Well, to that point, I mean, I think this specific protest seemed different, at least in our area. This was different than the others because there were groups who supported Israel and Jewish communities there as well, and they were all claiming for ceasefire. But to your point, if you're going to protest and be almost a nuisance to people just going about their day, it's not your fault if you have to go on a business trip or a train or go see family. It's not our fault that there's war in the Middle East. So I think there is a time and a place for this, but don't disrupt people's day. They can do this. Do it at the train station. That's fine. You don't have to sit there and block the Amtrak exits. I don't.
That's the thing that bothers me, too, is, like we saw yesterday in that video at Harvard where that group of protesters were literally restricting the free movement of that individual.
Yes.
I'm all for protest and free speech, but you can't be blocking and resisting people their ability to get from point A to point B. That's where I draw the line. And I mean, I don't know how many people had their day disrupted yesterday because of this.
But why are we doing it at a train station? The trains are still going to come in and out, so it really doesn't. Nothing happens.
Yeah, you'll just delay it.
Yeah, you can walk around them.
How often do we get triggered by delays on the Schuylkill driving?
That's true.
At an airport, on a train. It's a triggering event.
I take back my thought.
Yeah, remember on the Vine Street Expressway?
Yeah.
That was the big event, and ultimately they were, pepper sprayed, and at first, remember, Mayor Jim, the mayor comes out, Kenny comes out. At the time, the police commissioner Outlaw came out and said, "Yep, they were pepper spraying."
Right.
And I thought, oh, good for them. They're making a statement. You cannot. It's a safety risk to tens of thousands of people to block a major thoroughfare.
Yeah.
But then they walked that back and then charged the officers after officers were attacked. And then they had a huge settlement that we, the taxpayers, ultimately, we pay millions of dollars to these so-called victims who chose to shut down a major interstate.
That's correct.
But also, how much you want to bet that those people protesting probably have no idea what the actual war is.
Oh,
I
know.
They just see it all over social media, and they're like, oh, you know.
We are, especially at the college level, with people at universities, and Jonathan Turley, I'm stealing this from him. This is not my phrase, but colleges have become more about activism and advocacy than they've become about academics, which is scary because, in part, it's good that you have something you believe in, even if I might disagree with it. But when you're fundamentally wrong in your what you're advocating for, and you're also uneducated as to, like, when we saw the signs in the first 10 days of this situation, you had people from the LGBTQ plus community with signs that said, quote, "Queers for Hamas," and everyone on social media that saw that was like, who wants to tell them? You will be beheaded if you were to go over there and let them know that you're a member of the LGBTQ plus community. They don't condone that in their religious beliefs. So,
well, and I think you're right to an extent. College is obviously a place where kids become activists. They find themselves and they feel like they have a political identity. But I think at the same time, there's so many kids that they don't agree with this stuff. They don't really speak up. They just go to class. They live their lives. They enjoy their weekends.
Yeah.
They go to the football game, and that's it. And you know, we always hear the loud minority, but obviously we're always going to see those people with our circles on social as well.
It just seems now more than ever that it's a bigger amount of people that are being activists in college, and it's more left and more liberal than I ever thought it was. Like I knew colleges for the most part were very liberal, but I didn't think it would get to the point where, much like the rest of society, only one viewpoint is accepted and tolerated. And that's what I feel like what's going on here.
But on the other hand, that's stuff like Turning Point USA and those conservative groups that are going campus to campus. There's a reason they're still going to campus. A lot of kids support them, and they want to see them, and they want this logic on their campus. So, you know, I think...
Do they go to Ivy League schools? Because we gave you those numbers. How like, what is it? 0.4% of Ivy League students identify as conservative or very conservative.
That's crazy.
It's basically non-existent on the Ivy League campuses.
I'll look for a list to see where they've gone, but it is. I mean, obviously, it seems like it's getting so hyper-political to each end.
Because I would think like Turning Point USA would have a far better turnout at colleges down in the Southeast. Texas, Oklahoma, SEC country,
I mean,
Florida,
Pennsylvania,
Georgia.
they've been in a good amount.
Yeah.
I know, so.
Well, there's plenty of Republicans in Pennsylvania for sure. Have they gone to Penn State?
Yeah. Well, I think that's when they had that whole giant controversy.
Oh, that's right, with Riley Gaines.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm saying if you don't know anything about it, just be like, I don't know enough information. Don't join in on something that you don't necessarily know any information about.
Yeah. I mean, I was completely uneducated when I was in college. I mean, even when I was eligible to vote, and I just registered as a Democrat because I was young, stupid, and had no clue what was going on. But to your point, Lorenzo, you're right. Even though there are many activists in college now, there's probably a bigger percentage that aren't actually paying attention to any of it.
I mean, I'm still on campus at Westchester because I'm figuring out all this degree stuff, and you see it, and obviously we even saw plenty of protesters who don't even go to the school that would just show up and try to ruffle feathers. But I think most people just go about their day.
Yeah.
There was definitely none of it when I was still at Newman. There was absolutely none of it anywhere on campus.
Really?
Everyone, you either talked about it individually, but no one, like the president didn't come out and be like, oh, this is how it's going to be, or support these people.
Is that a size of the enrollment thing? I mean, Newman's a relatively
Newman isn't public, right? It's
a private, but I also believe it's a very Catholic college as well.
Okay.
So I believe they're just sticking away from everyone's political
I only went to public colleges, so anyone in the state is allowed to come to and use the public facilities and air their grievances. So that's what I dealt with.
All right. Very good.
There's more protesters, except this time they are multiracial and intergenerational movement.
Yeah.
Whatever that means.
I have no idea.
Phil, this is cut 14. Go.
Let's go to the tape.
Multiracial. Intergenerational movement. We are here. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now.
And then they just go on a rant saying ceasefire now.
And this was more from Philadelphia, correct?
Yes, this is 30th Street Station.
Okay.
So whatever multiracial, multi-faith, and intergenerational movement is, please let me know, because I don't know.
No, I don't either. I would also love to know what their stances are on Russia, Ukraine, and any other global conflict or war that's going on now. Because as I said in the first hour of the show, I would be willing to bet a sizable sum of money that the same people that are for Ukraine and the never-ending funding of Ukraine with this conflict with Russia and the United States' involvement are the same people that want a ceasefire with Israel and Hamas, which to me doesn't make sense and becomes a blatant hypocrisy. You can't be advocating for the right to defend yourself as a nation and the existence of your people on one side and then say, I want a ceasefire on the other side, and this group does not have the right to defend themselves. Yeah, I gave the real simple, stupid analogy. It's like when you were in school and you got into a fight and the guy punched you in the nose, and then when you're getting ready to punch him back, he's like, oh, no, hold on. Let's shake on it. Truce.
Yeah.
Truce.
Yeah.
No, you started it, you know?
Well, and I think that stuff is starting to come to light more and more. There was a protester that interrupted Hillary as well, and they were left-wing. This was a left-wing conference, and they were talking about how Hillary and most of the establishment Democrats are just warmongers. And whether they're talking about Ukraine or the Middle East, all they do is continue these wars. And I think, to your point, that's something that could actually really come to unite the American people, especially if we have more and more hostages with the Middle East. I think most people, left or right, they are sick of this stuff. And they are sick of the people on the left and right that get us in these conflicts that never end.
Yeah. Well, and it's amazing, too, that the Republican Party is kind of the party of peace now, because I think in a lot of ways Donald Trump kind of got us out of the Lindsey Graham, never-ending war Republican mentality. The Bushes were a part of it for so many years. It's amazing how these things kind of flip around when you look at what parties used to be about and what they're no longer for.
Yeah, who can get those headlines and what party's associated with it right now.
But, Anthony, what do you mean when you say parties on both sides got us into this? The one who got us into this Israeli situation, let us not forget, terrorists who pre-planned an event for weeks, if not months.
Months, yeah.
And they went door to door, and they targeted civilians, grandparents, mommies, daddies, babies, children, and they slaughtered people. That's who got us into this. So, yes, we're politically divided on how to handle it, how much money to give, all of that. But we in this country are reacting to an ally's terrorist attack.
Well, and you're correct. We have to respond. I think what I'm saying more goes to Ukraine and Russia and inserting ourselves there. But these people that always want the forever wars for the money and the status, and I mean, we see it with the Clintons and people. But I agree with you. At this point, with how much hatred and violence has been thrown toward the Jewish people, you do have to react, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, this was, and that's just it. I would say to those protesters last night, I would love for them to view what I know the journalists were brought in and had a chance to be eyewitnesses to the body cam videos. Mm-hmm. The raw video, as we say, which is extremely disturbing. I would love for those protesters, to see that and then say, well, how do you think we should respond to this?
Mm-hmm.
How do you think? So these were terrorists going door to door. This was an attack on civilians. It wasn't even a business place.
Yeah.
I mean, 9/11 here in this country was horrifying, but they were attacking a huge, high rises in New York City, the business place. These were homes of individuals.
Yeah.
And they targeted babies and children and girls and women. I mean, so there's no military connection or business connection. They knew what they were doing. They planned it. It's a terrorist attack. We, of course, have to react.
And remember, they told these terrorists right before it was, time to launch their operation that there are no rules this time around. I guess because apparently they have rules as far as, what's off limits and what's not. And they told these savages and these barbarians, no, you go right ahead and kill a baby or kill an elderly woman or kill an animal or anything like that. I mean, this was This is like below war. This is like beneath humanity. This is like the
It shouldn't happen.
You're right.
It just shouldn't happen, bottom line. You have to stand up to it. But that's why yesterday's protest, I'm not necessarily against it. If we have Israeli supporters and Palestine victim supporters saying ceasefire, I'm cool with it. But don't get in people's way. That's it.
Anthony, though, don't be fooled by this. When we say that what's their name, and the ADL released a statement about JVP, which is Jewish Voice for Peace. So when you hear their title, Jewish Voice for Peace, you may think, oh, well, they're representing Jews or they're representing Israel. No. They are the largest progressive Jewish anti-Zionist organization in the world.
Oh, wow.
That's who they are.
Their whole thing is occupation and everything, just like the rest of them then, probably.
You mean like occupying?
Yeah. It's Gaza is occupied and Israel's taking over and et cetera, et cetera. So to your point, yeah,
they're not pro-Jew.
Yeah.
Okay, they're not pro the Jews. Okay, so they are. People may be fooled by their name, but you need to know who these organizations are.
This is never going to end. Like, this is the never-ending war.
Yeah.
The Middle East will forever be a battle between Islamic and the radicalized section of it, and trying to eradicate the Jewish existence. Like, eventually the United States has got to be like, and I understand we have interests to protect, and it's not as simple as just saying, we'll just get out of there. But like, it's a no-win situation. I firmly believe you will, and you can sit here and say, well, the last 17 to 20 years there's been a lot of progress made, but like, that is a powder keg waiting to go off at any moment.
Yep.
Yeah,
and October 7th showed that.
So just to clarify, the organizer of this event that happened at 30th Street Station, the day that Hamas terrorists invaded Israel and killed 1,400 Israelis by all accounts, and then kidnapped more than 200 individuals, JVP, the organizer of this event that claims that they're the Jewish Voice, they released a statement on that day of the slaughter and said the source of all this violence was Israeli apartheid and occupation. In other words, they were victim blaming the day it happened. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that these were basically pro-Palestinian groups who were taking over 30th Street Station.
Yep.
If you thought that was bad, now a protester decides to sing while getting arrested. Again, don't know what that's going to happen, but...
what do they think? They're on their own personal TikTok?
Man, I don't know. Phil, cut 15. Go. Just singing.
Oh, my goodness. Do we have the...
There's a video there. If you didn't play it, Phil.
If we could
I can play it again if you want.
Yeah, let's see. Let me hear this. Okay, so... All right, now so she's being arrested while she's singing.
Yeah. Again, don't know what that's going to do.
No.
I don't know if the cop's going to be like, oh, you're singing? Great voice. Let me just release you.
You have a beautiful voice.
Yeah, let me release you real quick.
Right.
It's like, stop the singing.
Yes.
So
ma'am, you have the right to remain silent, literally.
Amtrak officials said they would be charged with misdemeanor trespassing rather than just receiving citations. But somewhere in there, you'll hear an officer say this is what they wanted. They wanted to be seen being arrested.
Yep. It's true. They want to make a publicity stunt. They want us to talk about it and to go viral and to make it's true.
Do you think they took a page out of AOC's book when she got quote unquote arrested?
Where she pretended.
Yeah, she pretended
to have her hands cuffed behind her back.
Just walking with a smug walk. Do you think that?
I just don't get what has Amtrak done? Why Amtrak? I'm just so confused. Whether it's SEPTA or Amtrak, why is this the place of protest, and why are they stopping traffic there?
Big city and mass transit's used at a very high level. I mean, I guess the alternative is setting up shop on 95 or 76, and
where they can get hit by a car.
Right.
So,
I also, my perception, to answer Anthony, is that I think they met there because you have people traveling in. These are not all Philadelphians.
Yeah.
So they're trying to organize this, but let's all meet at 30th Street Station because that's where we took a train from someplace else to come into Philadelphia because it's a media hub and the media is going to cover it.
Mm-hmm. Very true.
Speaking of singing, Phil, I'm calling a cut 8 here.
Oh, boy.
Elon Musk, as we know, was on Joe Rogan's podcast.
I heard.
For Halloween. Yeah, Nick, I don't know if you know. He was on with Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan asked him about why the Taliban Twitter account or X is still on Twitter. And he decides to bust out into a song.
Oh, my God. Elon Musk. So it can't be any worse than him talking, right? Or should I not make that judgment yet?
Phil, this is cut 8. Go.
But the Taliban is on Twitter, right?
Like, I always think of, like, hey, Mr. Taliban, tally me a banana. Hey, Mr. Taliban.
I mean, there's
tally me a
definitely
banana.
some people on Twitter that are.
Daylight coming, I want to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So a couple of things here. Number one, on a serious note, it is ridiculous that there was a stretch in time where Donald Trump was not allowed on Twitter, but the Taliban was. I want you to think about that for a moment when we talk about Jack Dorsey's Twitter ownership and what was permitted and what was not. The president of the United States not allowed on a platform, but the Taliban was allowed on ISIS.
Still on Twitter.
They still are?
I believe so.
That's amazing. But two things. Number one, I just realized Rogan was wearing a wig the entire show that he did with Musk there. He's got like a yellow wig there.
Was that a Halloween special?
I
Or
must
That
have
was
asked
his
him for
costume. There was a guy that looked like him at the World Baseball Classic with that hair. So
Really?
he dressed up as that guy.
Oh, so that's
for
the
Halloween.
backstory?
Yeah. It's like a meme that the
Okay.
guy that looks like
Elon
him.
was also dressed up. I don't know what it was, but he had like some cloak on.
Yeah, that almost looks like Alice in Wonderland type.
The guy's
of,
worth
yeah,
billions
something
and he
like
has a cloak.
Yeah, he was dressed as a boring billionaire.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He just needs to stop.
Yeah, I don't need him singing. But I'll tell you what, you talk about low energy individuals, and we've talked about a lot of them on this show, and we've mentioned the nickname for Jeb Bush and low energy. There might not be anybody that is more out there in society, pop culture, news cycles, entertainment, whatever you want to classify or put Elon Musk into whatever camp or category, so to speak. I would just like to hear that guy for once just yell or just get angry. Like, he sounds like he is. I know he's got is it Asperger's that he has?
Yeah.
Or he's got a
on the spectrum.
He's on
they
the
say.
spectrum of was it autism?
Essentially,
Asperger's is a form of autism.
Okay. So I know he's got that going on. So I understand that. But like, can you just give me a little bit more energy with something in your life? Like, that dude might have one of the best lives of anybody that is walking planet Earth, and he's just like he's a complete flatliner. Like, that right there was the most personality I've ever heard from Elon Musk.
Even when he announced like his Cybertruck, whatever, because that was like his last big announcement, I believe, he was just monotone.
Yeah.
I was like, this is a huge thing.
Well, it's because
it's just
anyone that's smart, they're not great at being social. And I think it really just comes out of that. He spends a lot of time alone, sitting there looking at sheets, looking at...
But I think he is social from the standpoint, like, he's been in the news now for a couple of years. He's done all the big TV shows, podcasts. He's done this, that, and the other thing. He's on Bill Maher. He's on Joe Rogan. So he's out there in the public eye. I think he enjoys the attention he gets. But, man, his delivery, like...
He's been on Joe Rogan a couple times.
Yeah, more. I think at least like 3.
He's so bad, he makes DeSantis look like a showman. He makes DeSantis
But he's
look
not
like
trying
Trump.
to be a public figure. That's the
No,
thing.
I know.
He just is.
But he is kind of a public figure, right?
Yeah.
He
Well,
also-
yeah, he is now. Yeah.
He also makes RFK look good, too, because RFK has emotion.
Yeah.
Elon Musk does not.
Right.
He's just straight-faced.
We should do a poll question. Who would you rather listen to on a podcast for 1 hour? Elon Musk or RFK?
I know I like RFK, but I think he really has improved the more he talks. But it's just because he's doing it every day.
Yeah.
Would you listen to a podcast with Elon Musk and RFK?
Would I?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. Just because I have to. Because I have to.
Nick's logic, it's show content.
No, it is. Everything's
That's all. Yeah, literally
everything
everything
is
we do.
content.
Yeah.
All right, what else do we have? We got a couple more. We got about 7 or 8 minutes left.
We
have any fun stuff? We have any like people having meltdowns on
here.
TikTok?
Let's
Anybody
see here.
claiming to be a cat?
Oh, we do have a fun one.
Well, he's looking for his fun one, by the way. The October jobs report is due out in less than 4 minutes.
Yeah.
So this is a big economic indicator. So
Okay.
just watch that one.
Beautiful.
I guess this is Halloween related, but it came out yesterday. Phil, this is going to be cut to kids' parents are always like, "Oh, only take one piece of candy."
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the rule.
And apparently, when this came out, there was a sign or whatever that said, "Please take one." But kids and parents of the same family decided just to raid the whole candy bucket.
Yeah.
Like handfuls.
Yeah, they looted the candy bucket.
Candy bucket just completely
Yeah,
empty.
lead by example, parents.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like, I believe there was like full-size candy bars.
Yeah,
in
full-size
there, too.
candy bars. Yeah.
Yeah, Phil's playing the video.
Okay.
But here is, it's more a video, but there's audio that goes along with it.
Okay.
They're just being feral about it. Look at it.
That's outrageous.
And then more come in and just the same family, I'm going to assume.
Well, and the parents are the ones doing most of it. The
Yep.
parents are taking most of the candy, which
Yep.
is absolutely ridiculous. And this is why people can't have nice things anymore.
No.
Like you can't. And to me, I like sitting out front on Halloween, but this is exactly why you have to, because people are just going to take advantage of you.
I'm assuming that was caught on like a Ring doorbell
Yep.
cam
Yeah.
type
Yep.
situation.
Yeah.
And there's a big black bucket on a little table next to this big like pillar post, and it's a family of about 7. Looks like there's 5 or 6 kids and maybe 2 or 3 adults, and they come swooping in, and they literally just emptied out the whole bucket. There's nothing left.
Kevin Paul said illegals need to eat too.
Oh, jeez.
Jesus.
Well, there's got to be at least 30 pieces of candy in there, and big
Yeah.
ones, big
Yeah,
boxes.
like the
Yeah, the
family
king
size
size
yeah.
ones.
Right. Like, so nobody went with, like, the little miniature Three Musketeer bars or the little Snicker cubes. This person put out the full shebang. Probably rated an entire Rite Aid shelf.
The king size aren't cheap either.
No.
Compared to the smaller, like, variety packs, like,
Yeah.
that's a good, especially you mentioned the price of candy nowadays.
See, yeah, with 14% inflation.
Yeah.
You know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm no longer interested in taking the kids trick-or-treating. I'm also no longer interested in sitting on the porch like a mannequin and then scaring them as they think I'm like part of the decoration. What I'm going to do moving forward, here's my goal. I'm going to videotape this, and I am going to like hide in a bush. And I'm going to wait for the first group of people that decide to not follow the rules and take more than one. And I'm going to jump out of the bush and confront them. That's what I'm going to do.
No, just scare the living hell out of them. Just
Like,
I think that's a great
read
idea.
That sign? Please take one. What don't you
The only thing
understand?
Nick
Be
has to
dressed
do,
as like Freddy Krueger and jump out of
Yeah.
the bushes.
the only thing Nick has to do is come out of the bush and say, "Ooh, I do talk radio."
Oh, I'm a
Well,
conservative.
That's right.
Oh.
I'm a deplorable, and I'm going to talk about you in the big take tomorrow, you scumbag. No, but like, and then there's also the people like some families will go trick or treating and then put the sign out saying and put their light on. Please take one. They put a bucket of candy, and they're not home. So when they come back from trick or treating, the bucket is empty, and they have no idea if everybody adhered to the rules or if a family of 12 decided to load up like it was a buffet.
Well, trick or treating is like, in some neighborhoods, it's being outran by like the trunk or treats. Because I've been hearing people saying, "Oh, there was like no one in my neighborhood," or this, that, and this, that. They had all these all this candy out, and they're just not coming by. When I was for Halloween with my girlfriend, everyone out was out.
Yeah.
But like, I guess they've all been taken over by like the trunk or treats or anything like that.
And that's where you drive from neighborhood to neighborhood, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
I mean,
a
people
violation.
did that. People did that in the suburbs growing up. It's fun doing it in your own neighborhood, but yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's happening less and less.
Like, I mean, I'm not a candy person, but like, how much freaking candy do you need? Seriously.
Well, I mean, it's all about the kids too.
I know,
like,
but
this
like, my
is-
God, they've never
Yeah,
had candy
yeah.
before.
I
This
can't-
is some novel concept.
I don't have candy in my apartment because I'll just eat it.
Well,
And
exactly.
I shouldn't.
Exactly.
All right.
Everyone's favorite president, Joe Biden. I'm just kidding. It's President Trump. Is apparently vowing, apparently vowing to revolutionize higher education. Phil, this is going to be cut 5 whenever I tell you. He plans to spend more money on higher education than any other country, and yet, or he said, we spend more money on higher education than any other country, and yet they're turning our students into communists and terrorists and sympathizers of many, many different dimensions. Who can let this happen? And he's apparently creating a university called American Academy, which is a free, federally funded online university. So not going into campus and just doing it in your parents' basement, essentially.
The way you just described this sounds very pro-Trump, something a Republican would come up with.
So This academy plans to ban wokeness and jihadism, allow credentials to be used to apply for government and federal contractor jobs, grant credit to students for past coursework, tax large private university endowments like Harvard's to pay for the free school, sue and fine institutions that fail to uphold free speech laws or encourage anti-Semitism.
Are you sure this is coming from the Biden administration?
No, it's for Trump.
Oh, I thought you said America's favorite
and then I
president,
said
Joe Biden.
JK, President Trump.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
thought you were just joking as far as who's America's favorite president.
I tried making a joke.
Okay.
It just went
no,
over
that's my
everyone's
fault.
head.
That's my
Yeah,
fault.
Yeah. This is coming from Trump. Clearly, if he's not in office, he can't really do that. Phil, this is cut 5. Go.
In recent weeks, Americans have been horrified to see students and faculty at Harvard and other once respected universities expressing support for the savages and jihadists who attacked Israel. We spend more money on higher education than any other country, and yet they're turning our students into communists and terrorists and sympathizers of many, many different dimensions. We can't let this happen. It's time to offer something dramatically different. Under the plan I'm announcing today, we will take the billions and billions of dollars that we will collect by taxing, fining, and suing excessively large private university endowments, and we will then use that money to endow a new institution called the American Academy. Its mission will be to make a truly world-class education available to every American, free of charge, and do it without adding a single dime to the federal debt. This institution will gather an entire universe of the highest quality educational content covering the full spectrum of human knowledge and skills, and make that material available to every American citizen online for free. Whether you want lectures or ancient histories or an introduction to financial accounting or training in a skilled trade, the goal will be to deliver it and get it done properly. Using study groups, mentors, industry partnerships, and the latest breakthrough in computing, this will be a truly top-tier education option for the people. How does that sound?
This sounds incredible.
And it's free.
And it's really well thought out. I mean, he wasn't just shooting from the hip there. I mean, there's obviously some planning and some collaboration that went into that thought process. I like all of that. I mean, if you want to get away from all this insanity at some of these colleges, and we know everybody, well, not everybody, but a lot of people love the concept of virtual and having to be able to do it from their dining room table on their computer. Not me. I would rather be in person, but I'm all for that.
I mean, it
Good
sounds
idea.
great.
I mean, how attainable that is, I'm not sure.
Exactly.
But
I mean, I just want government out of education fully, especially higher education. Because if we didn't have this student loan crisis, if the government never got involved, we wouldn't have this.
Yeah, and by the way, did you guys hear the details and the updates as to who actually qualifies for that Biden student loan bailout, basically, that nonsensical program for leeches?
Is that the SAVE program?
Yeah, well, there's two of them. There's one in which you can reduce your payment, and then there's others that it will be completely wiped away, scot-free. You have to either be a governmental employee or working for a nonprofit, or you have to have your loans out for at least 20 to 25 years. So even if I wanted to get away from what I have left to owe Temple, I've only been out of college for 17 years. So I wouldn't qualify. And I don't work for a nonprofit, and I don't work for a governmental agency.
Conservative talk radio producers don't qualify?
No, they would just basically hang up on me.
Look, I'm fine with reducing it. As long as you pay your own debt, great. But completely wiping it out, no.
No, completely wiping it out as others have to pick up the tab for
Right.
you.
No.
So I got to pay for my loans and yours?
You want to pay for mine?
Well, I understand them reducing it to an extent because these universities run up the tab and ask for more money than they actually need
the cost
because
is
daddy
outrageous.
government will give them anything they want as long as the kids sign the documents. So
it's absurd.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I really do believe the best value is community college.
is.
For
It is.
And I'm not saying stop
It's the
there.
best.
But if you want a 4-year degree and you don't know what you want to major in, or even if you do know and you just got to get your basic core elective type stuff out and the core curriculum out of the way, go to Montgomery Community College or whatever.
Great school.
Yeah.
Save so much money.
My favorite college was Bucks County Community College. And
I went to Northampton for 3 semesters between going to Lycoming and Williamsport and then transferring to Temple. I made a community college stop in between, and it was and you're taught by people that work in the field that they
exactly
talk about. It's not all these book nerd academic people that have never actually worked in the actual field, but yet they just stay on campus in their little space.
Well,
for
once
30
you get
years.
to that big school, you realize you're just a number, and I think that entails the biggest issue with it.
Yeah.
What is it? One of my professors at Monco was an anchor for KYW. So like he was in the industry teaching us how to do all this stuff for TV and radio. He was also for CBS.
Yeah.
So community college is great.
We have, speaking of community college, we have an update. Stalker is sending us.
Did you see this?
Stalker is sending us show content via our group text as we're in the middle of the show. I got to
P1.
You know what? Here, hey, Greg.
It was in my big three, Greg.
Yeah. Hey, Greg, stop listening and take a listen to this.
Can we stop getting our news from Twitter?
I wanted to say that. With knowing that he was off last night, and he sent us the Twitter links to some of those protests down at the train station, I so badly wanted to text him back and say, "Can you please get off of Twitter?"
Just sent him the picture of him, and we start at 6 a.m.
Like I'm watching Thursday Night Football with the Steelers and the Titans, and he sends that to me. I'm just like, I'm off of Twitter right now. I'm doing what you asked.
You mean Nick's actually off Twitter for once in his life?
Well, I wasn't posting. I'm always on.
Well, speaking of college and everything, I wanted to fit this in before we wrap up. Temple crime always is an issue that we seem to talk about. Students are used to the insane violence at this point, and this was a mashup courtesy of Philly Crime Update on Twitter. This is Cut 16. Go.
I can't say it's particularly shocking. A lot of stuff like that happens in the area.
Many on campus say safety is a constant topic. One freshman showed us the alerts students receive on their phones, sometimes daily. She also carries pepper spray on her keychain.
Things like this happen.
Alex Odom, a safety for the Temple Owls, wasn't surprised at first about 2 armed robberies involving Temple students until we showed the senior student the photos of the gunpoint robberies and where and when.
Are you surprised or
No,
not at
not
all?
at all.
Really?
Yeah, no.
Just kind of standard?
Happens, especially in the area we live in. But they
We keep it moving. We move during the daylight, and if we have to move at night, we travel in groups, and that's all we can do.
Coincidentally, we're on North Street, the same street where the guy that was groping the female students just was captured a couple of weeks ago, and here we are back again. And so right along all the campus athletic fields, you see these Philadelphia police real-time crime cameras.
It's kind of unavoidable. It's what you kind of sign up for when you start living in this area.
You're used to hearing all this, right?
Yes, this is very common.
No matter how smack a gun to this type of kid. Alarming, but not surprising, students sadly tell us. They've come to expect the possibility of gunpoint holdups and home invasions as part of student life here.
Having gone to Temple 2004, 5, and 6, I'm not going to ever sit there and say it was safe. I mean, nobody would ever say North Broad is a relatively safe area, but it was never like this. It's at the point now where it's like I am embarrassed, but in a way, I almost feel like saying, you know what? I shouldn't have to pay any of my loans back until you get your act together as a university, right?
They should get no money from anyone until
That's
they
correct.
fix. I mean, to your point, I was down there a lot from like 2016 through 2018, and even then it wasn't. Like, I used to hang out on the road where Officer Fitzgerald was murdered all the time, and like, it has gotten really, really, really bad. I don't know if it was COVID that did it, but it is, to your point, it is it's the worst it has ever been.
Yeah, well,
bar none.
Since
bar
the
none.
summer of 2020, probably.
Yeah.
You can always go back to that. I also think, too, it's very smart of those students when they do go out and go from maybe one dorm to another or from a campus building to a party or whatever, just travel in a big group. Like, don't put yourself at risk by going by yourself or with just one other person.
Exactly.
Well, I was going to go to Temple originally before I decided to go to Newman. That was like my top choice. And then I saw the area, and I said, not going there anymore.
Newman far more expensive than Temple?
$30,000
a year.
Yeah.
And what's Temple now? Close to 20 a year?
Well, in state, it's probably
16, 18?
Yeah, something like
well,
that.
it's also private and public.
So, I get that.
So.
All right, that'll do it for round 1 of the Cut Sheet Part 2 coming up at 9:35 this morning. Right now, it's 8:41, and it's time for Dawn Stenzelin's Big 3 at 8.
It's the Big 3 at 8 on Kayal and Company.
So updating you on the breaking news situation, a police barricade, North Philadelphia home, a huge police presence this morning. And we know that SWAT is involved, Pennsylvania State Police and Philadelphia Police on that scene. I don't have reports of anyone injured. A very dangerous situation for police when they're serving those warrants. So apparently they took 3 people into custody at the home on Lawrence Street right near Clearfield, but one individual is barricaded inside the home. So that was a breaking news situation that we wanted to update you on. And as far as talking about what's been going on, we had hundreds converging on 30th Street Station. We've talked a lot about that. We've updated you on overnight in Israel, these raids in which the IDF is saying Israel Defense Forces capturing a big, as I say, Hamas leader, as well as other terrorists or suspected terrorists. That raid happened overnight. This, as President Joe Biden had said, that he personally calls for a ceasefire. Not that that's happening or that it means much, apparently,
right,
but many echoing that across the country. And what appears to be a coordinated protest. In other words, 30th Street Station, we don't have any confirmation that those individuals who were converging on and shutting down a major transportation hub, were they from here? Are they Philadelphians? I don't have any of that confirmation, and I suspect we'll find out when we see those arrested. What is their address? And this coordinated effort to, make the news and the headlines, because they chose. Think about when they chose to do this, 6 p.m. news, and then they held it until well after 9 o'clock, and that's when we know that dozens were arrested. We'll see what they're charged with, misdemeanors rather than citations.
Yep.
But I'll take you to the suburbs, and this one in Montgomery County where police are investigating and just warning people, to be safe, to watch out. If you see something, say something. But this was a case that's concerning. Police in Upper Southampton Township investigating what happened inside this cafe. This happened Wednesday evening. So about 5:15 in the evening, 4 guys they covered their faces. They walk into this business, Cafe Olay in the Valley, and they head straight back to the back wall of the business where there is a flag of Israel, the blue and white flag.
Oh, boy.
So they yell, "Free Palestine!" They rip the flag off the wall. Then they walk out of the cafe. Again, it's 5:15 p.m., so it's packed in there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they started parading around the shopping center. They were spitting on the flag, stomping on it, making quite a show. And then other business owners and as well as patrons, they were prevented physically from going into the business. And the police were called. They were scared because they didn't know, are these guys going to open fire on us? I mean,
Right.
it was threatening.
Yep.
They're physically intimidating. So it's not just a peaceful protest, not that situation. Ultimately, this is under investigation, according to the Upper Southampton Township police officers.
Yeah, this is just as bad as these people walking around college campuses ripping down little billboard flyers of pictures of the hostages over in that area of the world. You don't rip down hostage photos. You don't rip down and go into somebody else's. This was a business, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, you don't go in and rip down a flag or you know what? Jason Aldean needs to come out with a new song. I think it's time for that. Try that in a small town where he talked about the summer of 2020 and the burning of the United States flag. I smell an open opportunity here for Jason Aldean to start stomping out this nonsense.
Yeah. Now, I will say this was a nice gesture that somebody, according to the business owner there, a patron or somebody in the community came into the business and had bought a brand new Israeli flag and gave it to them to hang up on the wall.
Oh, good.
So that was within less than 24 hours. That was nice.
Absolutely.
That they've done that.
Still some decent folk out there.
Yeah, so it was nice. We've been talking about and looking at this October jobs report released just this morning at 8:30 a.m. Investors looking for clues about the labor market health in the face, of course, of higher interest rates and some tough inflation we're all dealing with. The Labor Department's high-stakes October payroll report, so that came out just minutes ago, 8:30 this morning. It was projected to show that hiring increased by 180,000 last month.
Mm-hmm.
That was the projection. So it's below the projection. It's at 150.
Okay.
So so you'll see a lot of headlines. Oh, jobs, the increase is 150,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not what they projected. So it's a disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
And then the unemployment rate was, I think it was they were hoping for 3.8% that it would hold, but I think it's the latest, and I'm just looking at these numbers as they're coming out, is 3.9%. So a slight difference there.
Yeah. You can sit there and try to tout your new jobs or bumps in salaries, but it's still not matching the cost of living increase. So once again, they're trying to manipulate the data,
Well, that brings us to the next. You talked about, interest rates and inflation. So what's the lowest wage that American workers are willing to take in order to accept a new job? So it hit a record high. This is the Federal Reserve Bank of New York, and this is a survey that they've just been publishing.
Mm-hmm.
And so they say that at the lowest wage that American workers are willing to take in order to accept a job, the minimum to switch jobs, $78,645.
Really?
So this is a new high, and it marks an 8% increase from the same time last year when they call it a reservation wage. What people are looking at, it hovered around almost 73 grand. It was 72,873. So they're saying that now for somebody to take a new job or switch to a new job, they want $78,645. That's the number they have to meet.
Well, but isn't it kind of dependent upon what the person's currently making in their current profession? I mean, I would imagine if somebody's making 50 grand, they would take 73 or 78.
Well, so in other words, these are averages that they're looking at, the average American.
Gotcha.
And what's the minimum if they're looking to switch jobs?
Yeah, I think the average American salary, I want to say, is in the high 50,000s, which doesn't get you squat in this day and age, by the way.
Yeah, so this was the Federal Reserve Bank of New York survey, because every year they look at what's the so-called reservation wage, and again, looking at the averages for Americans. But the bottom line is it hit an all-time high, and it really matches with inflation.
Okay.
Because we have record inflation.
There you go.
So Big Three, trying to look beyond the headlines and bring you some stories that we haven't yet talked about this morning. Kayal and Company Newsline.
All right, Dawn, thank you very much. 855-839-1210. We'll come back, put on a bow, one more time, as Joe Biden would say. We will put a bow on the 8 o'clock hour, and then a lot of good stuff coming up in the 9 o'clock hour, including updates on not only the sucker punch that we talked about that was filmed on social media earlier this week, but if you recall the story in Florida where the teacher took the Nintendo Switch from that really big kid. He's like 6'5". Remember, he sucker punched her on camera and knocked her out cold. We have an update on that story, as well as our sucker punch that happened in Texas this past week. Those details as we wrap up the 8 o'clock hour next here on Kayal and Company.
I'm just a kid. I'm 6. I'm 9.
I'm 4.5.
And I've got asthma. You know just how upset I can get when I have an asthma attack.
And I know that you want to do all that you can do to help me.
But you might not know about all the different stuff that can make me have an asthma attack. Or all the simple things you can do to fight my asthma. You can fight it with a bear. You can fight it with a duck.
You can fight it with a wrench.
Put my teddy bear in the freezer to wipe out dust mites.
Dry off rubber duckies and fix leaks to get rid of mold.
'Cause mold can start my asthma attacks too.
Discover other simple ways to prevent an asthma attack. Visit noattacks.org. A public service message brought to you by the U.S. EPA, the Ad Council, and this station.
Thanks for doing all you can to help me out.
'Cause I don't want to feel like a fish with no water.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. Question for you. How many healthcare providers do you know who schedule downtime in their offices for team training? Not many. But my good friend, dentist and board-certified prosthodontist Dr. Robert Bentz does that because he wants to ensure that he and his staff are well-versed in all the latest technology, so when he invests in new state-of-the-art equipment for his patients, he can rest assured that he and his staff can maximize the performance of the new technology. One of their latest investments is the Trios 5 scanner. Talk about amazing. The Trios 5 has an incredible design which reduces the potential for patients gagging or experiencing discomfort during the impression-taking process. Plus, the process is much faster, which saves Dr. Bentz and his patients precious time. The scans are done, the plan is made, and the on-site lab gets to work. Dr. Bentz and his staff are a well-oiled machine when it comes to your comprehensive dental care. They're always working to make that experience as comfortable and as seamless as it can be. Visit them at bentzdentalgroup.com.
Hypertrophic cardiomyopathy is a serious heart condition. Some symptoms include being short of breath, feeling tired, or having dizziness or chest pain. My HCM impacted how I felt and what I could do. So I asked my cardiologist about treatment advances that gave me new options. That conversation was big for me. That's why I'm working with Bristol Myers Squibb to raise awareness about HCM and to help others like me. Talk to your cardiologist today and visit hcmrealtalk.com to learn more.
Sponsored by Bristol Myers Squibb.
You know, we talk about this all the time in my family. We're dreaming of it. It's really a trip of a lifetime. Southern Italy, just imagining being there, the Isle of Capri. Oh, can't wait for this. You got to join us. Join me next spring as we discover the wonderful sights in Southern Italy with my friends from Conservative Tours. Nobody does it better. The Amalfi Coast, Positano, Sorrento, Capri, some of the most beautiful, most picturesque places in the world. The Abbey of Monte Cassino, Pompeii. Enough time to see the great ancient sites in Rome as well, all while enjoying a gastronomical event for 12 days of touring. Olive oil production, a mozzarella farm, wineries, those tasting sessions galore, and the group dining events they're known for. Conservative Tours are legendary. 5267, that includes nonstop airfare while supplies last. I can smell the lemon groves outside my hotel window in Sorrento. So go to conservativetours.com, scroll down, you'll see my picture there. You'll see the full itinerary, the description of it. If you have any questions, you can call toll-free, 888-733-9494. And make sure you let me know. Yesterday, Richard and Linda called in. Richard's a doctor actually in Florida who listens to us on the Odyssey app. And they just signed up for the tour. So thank you, Richard and Linda. So many of you. This is selling out quickly. But DM me, let me know that you've booked or if you have questions. But you can go to conservativetours.com and you'll see everything described there. By the way, Italy's best kept secret, Puglia, charming villages, unparalleled cuisine. We're all going to find out together why so many Italians, the locals, take their vacations in Puglia. It's authentically Italian. Conservativetours.com. I hope you join me. Tell them Dawn sent you.
Hey, Riverton. We know your favorite station is Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
.54, Kayal and Company continuing live Friday morning. Nick Kayal, Dawn Stensler, and Greg with the morning off. Daniel, Anthony, and Phil here. 855-839-1210. The phone number. Final hour coming up. We'll get to our morning mystery movie clip as well as What's on the Cut Sheet Part 2. Who on Twitter today and what's on tap for the Dawn Show. But as we wrap up the 8 o'clock hour, I just want to give you two updates quickly from stories that we have discussed from this week, as well as all the way going back, I believe, last winter. And this was, if you guys recall this story, and if you're on YouTube or you're not there yet, just go to youtube.com/@1210 WPHT, and we have the videos of both of these horrific punches that were thrown. But the first update is from Florida. If you recall, the Florida teenager who beat his teacher unconscious after she had the audacity to take a Nintendo Switch away from him has pled guilty. And this is a really, really big kid who at the time was 17 years old. If we do have the video, Phil, if you want to put that up and let that run as I go through the story. Yeah, there it is, courtesy of the New York Post.
So you can keep it on loop as well. It's about 20 seconds, but you can just keep it on loop.
Yeah, he comes running from behind. It looks like some open hallway with some desks, maybe outside of a library in the school. And the teacher has taken the Nintendo Switch from this kid, 17 years old at the time, very big. I'm going to guess, I don't know, 6'3", 270 pounds. It looks like a left tackle for the high school football team. And he comes running from behind, punches her in the back of the head, knocks her. I mean, she literally goes flying like 4 or 5 feet.
She goes flying, man.
And she is out cold, and he is throwing probably another good 10 to 15 punches. You've got students and other faculty members trying to get him off, and now he's punching her in the back of the head while she's unconscious.
He throws a kick in there, too.
He's kicking, and I remember the video of the police arresting him at the school. So this is just terrible. Well, here is the latest update. He has pled guilty to the crime, and he faces up to 30 years behind bars. Technically a minor at the time, 17, to which I say I'm tired of protecting these 16 and 17-year-olds that technically qualify as minors when they commit acts like this, assuming there's not some sort of mental defect or mental handicap or disability. I think they should be charged and treated as adults. So he's facing up to 30 years behind bars. And by the way, he is actually 6 feet 6 inches tall. And he just sends this teacher flying and savagely beats her. And it's sad that we see these types of things, and I'm not trying to sit here and say that it's 10 times worse than it was back when I was in school. We see it more because of social media, but just an absolutely horrific event.
I mean, the rug burn's also got to be terrible.
The rug burn. That's probably the last thing she cares about is the rug burn. Come on,
you
Dave.
See, she slides against the rug.
I mean,
man.
she went flying. It's
yeah.
Just, and this is where it's like you hope to have school officials that are perhaps a trained police officer by the state, or even a local municipal township officer or city officer that's stationed to protect these schools for school shootings and things like that. And then we also have the update of the second story. This was the one that we talked about this week in the Houston area in Texas. This was the guy who decided to go up and sucker punch somebody from behind, film it on TikTok, post it, make it go viral, and then we played you the sound bites of him being interviewed by a local TV station where he was claiming that the backlash that he received online and the hate speech and everything else was out of line. It's like, well, you just sucker punched somebody in the head and had the audacity to film it and then post it, which kind of brings me back to that Vegas situation where those two kids were in a car and tried to run down a retired cop on a bike on a Sunday morning and film that as well. And if we could play you this video of the punch.
You can just play it's the news clip that we
have.
Oh,
we have the news clip? Okay, very good. Let's take a listen to this.
Well, let me grab it first.
Okay.
Talk amongst yourself.
Yes, this was a KHOU 11 in the Houston, Texas area where they found this individual. They went to interview him, and then he tries to explain what the thought process was for it. So
I got it now.
We've got it synced up. Let's go audio and video. This is Sucker Punch number 2.
19-year-old Alfred Lewis spoke with me about how he feels about it now.
I just made a mistake, and everybody makes mistakes.
This is the video in question, first shared with KHOU 11 via the Nextdoor app. In it, you can clearly see Lewis striking a man in the head from behind before he turns around in shock.
I know, from the video, all you see is, the bad part about it, but what people didn't see was that I shook his hand after and how I had gave the man a hug.
Yeah.
That is something we cannot verify, nor can we confirm that another man seen in the video getting punched and grabbed later left on good terms, according to Lewis.
I really didn't expect for it to just go so left,
Yeah, he didn't expect it to go so far left.
I just punched in the back of the head.
Yeah,
Let me give you a hug real
I
quick.
apologized. I hugged him. You didn't see that. I have no proof or evidence of it, but you should just forgive me based on that. The Harris County Sheriff's Office has now given an update, and they have arrested one of the individuals, and they continue to investigate the attacks. And this is one of these things where people are posting this stuff on TikTok because they're obsessed with posting, and TikTok does remove millions of videos per month from its platform. But these types of things still get up there. So these like dares or challenges or just ridiculous things think about where you have to be mentally to say, you know what, I think it'd be pretty cool to go up and sucker punch somebody in a park, and we'll do it and we'll film it simultaneously live on TikTok. I don't understand that train of thought, but I think these people have serious mental issues. And then a lot of times they sound so innocent there. Like he sounded like a very nice young man, but yet these people have like a built-up rage in them, and then they just decide to unleash it on innocent victims. I hope he's charged to the fullest extent of the law as well. All right, that'll do it for the 8 o'clock hour. On the way, we've got the morning mystery movie clip and also a couple of stories in the world of health when it comes to sleep and how many steps a day is good enough for a healthy heart. And then also the throat cancer risk story that we didn't get to yesterday, we will get to today as we get to the 9 o'clock hour next on Kayal and Company. Stay right there.
Segment brought to you by Delaware Valley BMW Centers. Now through November 30th, during the BMW Road Home Sales event, receive a credit of up to $3,000 on select models like the BMW X3 and X5. For details, visit your local Delaware Valley BMW Center or go to bmwcenters.com today.
Hun, we need to stop putting off getting life insurance.
I know. It's just been so busy, and I'm sure the cost is out of our budget.
Well, Jen told me that they got a $500,000 term life insurance policy from Ethos for less than $23 a month. All online with no complicated forms and no medical exam. All they had to do was answer a few health questions.
Wait, no medical exam and all online?
I know, right? It's not easy to think about, but if something happened to you, James and I would be...
Okay, I get it. Let's get a quote from Ethos right now. Wow, you were right. There's no medical exam, and Ethos makes the whole online process fast and easy. And look at these rates and coverage options. It's great protection and totally fits our budget.
Ethos. They've removed all the barriers from getting coverage. Go to checkethos.com to get your free online quote. That's checkethos.com. Quote based on a healthy, non-smoking 30-year-old male with a 20-year term policy. Rates may vary.
When you need to know, depend on KYW News Radio 103.9 FM.
FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried has been found guilty on 7 counts of fraud and conspiracy, sentencing scheduled for March. Israeli troops encircle Gaza City as U.S. and Arab leaders pressure Israel to halt and allow aid for civilians. And a Sixers win makes it 3 straight. They beat Toronto behind a Joel Embiid double-double.
Get the latest anytime on KYW News Radio. Now on Crystal Clear 103.9 FM.
You've never needed us more.
See Joe Conklin's comedy show at the Sellersville Theater in Sellersville with Paul Wyants and Brendan Donegan. Saturday, November 18th. For tickets, go to joeconklin.com. joeconklin.com!
Lose weight and feel great with NJ Diet. NJ Diet uses DNA and blood work to help you lose weight and keep it off. Tune into the radio show Sunday at 2 or visit njdiet.com. Chronic pain, cancer, fatigue. Find out about the benefits of medical hydration therapy on Health Watch with Dr. Molly Fantasia every Sunday morning at 8 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
WPHT, WPHT HD, WOGL HD3 Philadelphia. From the Cherry Hill Volvo Studios, where relationships matter. Always live on the free Odyssey app.
This is Larry Steinhaus of Investor Schooling. I am so proud to announce the continuing success of our students at Investor Schooling. You already know that at Investor Schooling, we teach real estate investing and stock options. Did you also know that we teach things about tax savings, estate planning, and business coaching as well? We teach things about money I bet you never knew. At Investor Schooling, we teach from the perspective of true experience. If you want to see what our students think about Investor Schooling, please check out the over 160 5-star Google reviews. To find out more about how you can change your financial life, go to investorschooling.com or call 866-424-2829. That's 866-424-2829, and you can attend a complimentary class this Thursday at 7 p.m. Attend that class and see for yourself what Investor Schooling is all about. Go to investorschooling.com or call 866-424-2829. That's 866-424-2829. We can't wait to see you this Thursday.
Wherever the road takes you this holiday, make it memorable in the ultimate driving machine. Step into the BMW X5 with capable performance, cutting-edge technology, and unmistakable presence. Or chart a different course in the BMW X3. With style and powerful all-terrain versatility, there's no limit to your adventure. Find your ultimate BMW X3 or X5 at the Road Home sales event. BMW, the ultimate driving machine.
Hurry in for a credit of up to $3,000 on select models now through November 30th. Visit BMWCenters.com today.
If the market volatility of the past year has made you nervous about your retirement future, you're not alone.
So many people are waiting for the perfect time to retire. And those folks are going to be waiting a really long time, I hate to say, because there's no perfect time. The market is always unpredictable and volatile.
But that doesn't mean that it's hopeless. Jim Cipriotti has been helping people get to, through, and beyond retirement for over 20 years. And each week, he wants to help give you that freedom to retire. Listen to Freedom to Retire with Jim Cipriotti, now on Saturday mornings at 9 on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Follow Talk Radio 1210 on Instagram and Facebook at 1210 WPHT.
Fourth and final hour underway Friday morning. It is Kayal and Company here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. Nick Kayal, Dawn Stenzel, Greg with the morning off. Daniel Valdez, Anthony Dorenzo, Phil here as well. Daniel Valdez's final day on the show, so we will say our bye-byes to him coming up in just a little bit. Also, morning mystery movie clip at 9:20. What's on the cut sheet part due at 9:35. What's on tap for the Dawn Show? Who won Twitter today? It is all still on the way, the 9 o'clock hour, and this segment specifically brought to you by Piazza Premium Automobiles. Discover the luxury of the Mercedes-Benz lineup, including the midsize GLC, SUV, and the fully electric EQ models. Test drive today at Mercedes-Benz of Westchester, Wilmington, and now in Atlantic City. 855-839-1210 is how you climb in. You can get us on the free Odyssey app. Watch us live on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/@1210WPHT. If you missed any of the show this morning from our big take on Twitter, COVID, and the government, which we highlighted a couple of elements to that big take, including some of the conversation with free speech suppression as Elon Musk was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and then also Rand Paul on the Rich Zeoli show. Go back and listen to that. That was around 6:15 this morning. Also, the great news for Republicans as the GOP is gaining on Democrats here in the state of Pennsylvania, picking up at least 100,000 new registered voters and trimming that deficit from about 500,000 to the Democrats to about 400,000. So that was some very good news. And then also two of the most ridiculous op-ed and opinion pieces you will ever read. The USA Today with a column written by the one and only Hunter Biden, claiming he is a weaponized victim over his addiction and that the Republicans and the GOP used that to smear the Biden family name because it's such a prestigious family name. And then also Salon Magazine, which I've been told is like a notch below Enquirer. Not that I would read any of those, with a ridiculous, I think, a written hit piece claiming that MAGA Republicans and Christian Americans are a bigger threat to America than Hamas could ever be. Can't make that up, but then again, it's 2023, so we try to point out the absurd idiocy and the hypocrisy that we live with every day, and that was kind of the crux of the show in the first hour and a half before we got to what's on the cut sheet. A couple of stories on a lighter note, but certainly important in the world of health that I thought was pretty interesting. So, I get it. I have a little bit more time to exercise and get my cardio in compared to somebody like Dawn Stenzel, who does 6 hours of radio a day and raises a family and has a household and the whole bit.
And a yard. A lawn to mow.
And still has time to watch The Five while simultaneously listening to Rich Zeoli. Dawn's a busy person, as many of you are that have 9 to 5 jobs or work 2 jobs. But this is actually good news. So on the health front, exact number of daily steps. I've always, last couple of years, you've heard people, especially with like the Apple Watches and the Fitbits and things like that, trying to keep track of calories burned and what their heart rate is or what their sugar levels are, which is all certainly important. And I occasionally hear people, and I would hear Kristen say this from time to time, oh, I did 4,700 steps today. I'm thinking, we're really tracking how many steps that we take each and every day. And if you're a Democrat, you got to be careful because you could always fall down those steps, right? Like Joe Biden falls and Gavin Newsom falls all the time. But on a serious note, the exact number of daily steps to avoid an early death has been revealed, and it's not as many steps on a daily basis as many people thought. You don't need to make 10,000 steps per day. The scientists from Spain, and this is a study from or the story, I should say, is from the Daily Mail. The scientists from Spain have analyzed 12 different studies involving over 110,000 people, and researchers found that 8,000 steps a day can significantly reduce the risk of premature death. So they go on to say, for another lower exercise target, if you're looking for one, you could have found it, which could be even more effective at reducing the risk of an early death. Walking just 2,700 steps a day, or around 2 kilometers, or in America, 1.2 miles, is enough to lower the chance of dying young or suffering from heart attacks or strokes, scientists have found. But hitting 8,700 steps a day will reduce that risk by up to 60%, a study shows. Walking just 8,000 steps per day, or 6.4 kilometers, may lower the risk of an early death with 7,000, cutting cardiovascular disease risk by more than half. Any more than 8,000 a day has minimal added benefit, according to the study. So I don't know if anybody on this show is a Fitbit person or an Apple smartwatch person.
I have one.
Do you track your steps and anything else?
When I was on my summer job, yes.
Okay.
Just because I was constantly walking.
Now, your summer job was at Dorney Park,
Yeah.
correct?
But it was kind of a competition there. It's like who can walk the most and who has the most steps, and we just brag about it to people.
Wow.
So I didn't really take it seriously.
Okay.
But I have it I like knowing how many steps I can take, and I usually try to stand as much as I can.
All right, so you're 23, 23 years old. It's the summer. It's Dorney Park. Assuming you're not in the water park, it's a concrete jungle. It's hotter than hell in that place.
It's on a hill.
It's on a hill.
Yeah.
And unless you get out of underneath one of those trees or those little canopies in the shade, you swelter to death out there. So, I got to imagine you were walking, 4 or 5 miles a day minimum?
I'd maybe at least 20,000 steps when I was there.
20,000 steps?
Yeah, I was constantly walking everywhere. And the only time you can bring vehicles into the park is when the park's closed. So I would have to go all the way from the top half of the park to bring something all the way down to the bottom, and there's multiple hills to get there.
I do 2 miles a day on the elliptical or the treadmill, and it takes me about 21 or 22 minutes at a relatively good pace. But I don't think I'm anywhere close to some of these steps. Like Dawn, you come in, you're here from 6 to noon, you're going to get coffee, you're going to the bathroom, and then you have the rest of your day running kids to practices, and you're on the move, and then you mow the 8 acres of lawn that you have. Yeah, I got to imagine your steps are off the charts too.
Yeah, and so today I'll leave here, and then I head over because I'm headed right over to the field because then we're going to hand out sandwiches and food to the football team before they get on the bus and then go to Malvern.
And get beat by Malvern.
Stop. Get that out of your head. We have to be positive energy.
You said they got kids that are being recruited by Notre Dame.
Malvern. They do.
Wow.
You should see.
Okay.
But you know what? Here's the thing. You got to have your game face and your game brain on.
Yes.
Right? There are no matinees.
That is correct.
So every day, what do we do here? I say dance like it's your last dance. Play in sports, play like it's your last game. For us, we do everything we can do as if it's our last broadcast.
That's correct.
That's how you got to live.
You're damn right. And then you say things like this.
You want to pound it, you can.
Oh boy.
And
That's my
then
cooking
do
segment.
like a dry rub.
We do cooking segments sometimes. I got to imagine the steps. Obviously your boys playing sports, they're getting in their steps. But I would imagine even if they weren't, you're taking up enough steps for the entire family to reallocate them. Give Larry some of your steps. Give the boys some of them.
Wouldn't that be nice if you could reallocate your fat, reallocate your steps?
Yes.
If only we could.
Exactly right.
On Saturday, last Saturday, the 28th, it was our last day. being open, I had 21,063 steps, which is 10.39 miles, and I had 10 flights of steps climbed.
So you walk 10 miles while working.
All around, yes, from 5:30 until about 11:30.
So even if you could afford to eat as a radio producer, you would still be built the way you are because you just walk it all off anyway.
That's true, and I also lose weight in the summer because I'm sweating from walking so much.
Right.
So it's a bad mix.
I could, if I was going to work at Dorney Park, there's no way I could do what you do and just keep, like I would have to be stationed as like a lifeguard where I could just, you know, not take 10 miles of walking or 20-some thousand steps, but also relieve myself of the heat and actually get, in the water a little bit. Because if you've ever gone up to Allentown and gone to Dorney Park, unless you go to that water park, I'm telling you, every time I go there too, I am just beyond miserable. And I love hot weather. The hot weather doesn't bother me with golf. I'm good outside. But, man, there's something about walking around on that concrete at Dorney Park where you're like,
it sucks.
What the hell am I doing with my life?
And I always could eat whatever I want. I mean, I still technically can, but I was like, I'll walk it off tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yep.
Can I tell you something? That is when you look at, what do they call the blue zones? If you've read that book about the health, and by the way, Italy has one of them.
Yep.
California. But it's not just the Mediterranean diet and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's what Daniel's talking about. It's a community where you can walk.
Yep.
And getting out and walking, and that leads people to better mental health,
Mhm.
physical health, everything.
Yep.
It's something that is a problem, and especially then layer on what we're seeing, for example, here in Philadelphia,
Right.
where for, let's say, senior citizens or the elderly who maybe used to try to get out and walk around in their community, they're scared to do so.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And add in the pandemic and the fact that people were forced to stay inside. They didn't get their, so-called steps in each day. And I'm glad you brought up Italy because I started thinking about this when I was reading this story last night. There's so many countries around the nation that do not have the obesity levels that we have or the overweight levels. I mean, it's funny, you look in Italy or you look in some of these other European nations and everybody's all fit and trimmed and you're like, well, wait a minute. I thought all you do was eat carbs and drink wine. And it's just a healthier lifestyle, the Mediterranean diet. You're out, you got better weather, you're walking around. You're not as lazy as many of Americans are. It's like, you look at the problem in America, it's that we have way too much to distract us from getting in our steps. And, this smartphone era, this technology era, this on-demand a la carte era. And I always hear people, and again, I get it. People have different work schedules that are far longer in duration than my work day is for sure, even though I feel like I never stop working because I'm always preparing for a show. There are, a lot of wasted hours of the day. Like when you get your phone report on a Sunday, if you have an Apple iPhone, you'll get your screen time report, and it might say 3 hours and 42 minutes a day or whatever. Or just think about the time where you spent 27 minutes scrolling your Facebook feed. Like you could have got on, gone to a gym, or let's say you have an old elliptical or treadmill in your basement. Like you could have used that 25 minutes in your busy day to get your steps and your exercise in. But we just have way too many things that distract us that lead to us living non-healthy lives. I've really come to I'm a big believer in, and again, some people have 2 or 3 jobs. But if you want to make time for something in your day, odds are you probably can carve out that time. So that's why I always push back against the people that can't lose weight beyond the stuff of if you've got some sort of, issue medically that prevents you from doing it. But for those that just claim I don't have enough time, think about the time that you spend on your phone or a smart device wasting away random bits of time that could have been used in a different, more productive way. As I sit here and preach on my soapbox.
Well said.
All right. 9:19. We'll get, speaking of that, you mentioned mental health. Let me get this other health story out of the way, and then we'll get to the Morning Mystery Movie clip. I wanted to get to this yesterday, but we ran out of time. So a lack of sleep is compromising the mental health of Americans at an alarming rate. This survey, which is called Phase 2023, I'm Tired, this was done via a report from Calm, C-A-L-M. I want to say is that the device that LeBron James advertises, the sleeping device to help you fall asleep? I think it's the maker of the sleep and meditation app if you're into that sort of thing, reveals that some of the reasons people don't get the optimal quantity or quality of rest. And researchers surveyed, they took 9,500 residents from 10 U.S. cities, and they also took 10 UK cities between the ages of 18 and 65 about their sleep habits and challenges. And they came to the following results. Overall, 91% of adults say they are, quote, not rested, or that they, quote, feel tired at least some of the time. And this snooze report also shows us that most surveyed respondents, 78% of them, said a lack of sleep is negatively affecting their mental health. I want to bring this up because we all make fun of, me on the show for the nap each day. But I'm telling you, if you have the ability to squeeze in a nap, in the event you can't get the recommended 8 hours of sleep, and I don't get 8 hours on most nights, it's usually anywhere from 5.5 to 7 hours, especially if we have something going on election-wise or the Phillies are in the playoffs and the game's not over till 10:30 and I got to be up at 4:15. But, I mean, there's something to be said, and I think there's a lot of things that have triggered mental health in the last 3.5 years of the pandemic. But just starting at the most entry level, like if you don't get the amount of sleep you need to feel good each day, your mental health is going to deteriorate. I'm not surprised in the least bit that 78% of adults find this to be an issue.
Yeah, I think it affects mental health. It affects your ability to process, to handle things.
And you're one that doesn't get a ton of sleep, right? You get, what, 4 or 5 hours a night?
I probably get 5 to 6.
Okay.
And then usually Thursday, although did I get not yesterday, but generally speaking, I can take maybe a 10-minute nap. Like I can, and believe it or not,
I don't know how you do that.
It's weird.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'll get home and I'll just lay down. I'll let Buddy out, then lay down.
Just crash.
It's like 10 to 12 minutes.
Mhm.
Then I wake up and I'm like, refreshed.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay, well, the science does say that, like, no more than a 30-minute nap is what you need. But I find a way to somehow debunk that. I go for a good 75 to 90, and I wake up like a champ.
Oh,
like
so now we're listening to science.
Well, it's like the left. You selectively choose which science you believe in, whether men can be girls or girls can be men.
Anything that has to do with naps, you're always like in agreement with.
I think if you do morning radio, the nap is essential. There's no way you can make it till 10:30 at night. At least I can't. I start zoning out by 8:15 if I don't get the nap.
But I will say, I'll tell you this, and Sue Serio at Fox and I used to talk about this. She used to talk about it all the time because she's worked, as everybody knows, as a meteorologist for decades in Philadelphia.
Yep.
And when you are chronically sleep deprived, your body goes, and you can look it up, but your body goes into this crisis mode because your body thinks, okay, I'm in a crisis right now.
Yeah.
And it clings to your fat cells. It releases hormones to make you hungry, and it's reacting to what it thinks like you're dying, you're in crisis because you're chronically sleep deprived. So what happens is that's why people on shift work tend to gain weight, and no matter what they do, they cannot lose it.
Yep.
Because your body, I mean, it's pretty amazing how the human body works. Your body's saying, no, we are not going to let you lose weight because we're in a crisis.
Yep.
We need the energy.
I hear that word crisis. I mean, lack of sleep turns you into a Democrat. Everything becomes a crisis then. And that's a word Alejandro Mayorkas refuses to use at the southern border.
You're fun.
All right, 9:24. Let's get to our morning mystery movie clip.
And now, the morning mystery movie clip on Kayal and Company. Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Should I make a joke about my mother-in-law?
Yes, in America, that's a very popular joke. Do you have a mother-in-law joke?
Yes.
All right.
I had a sexy time with my mother-in-law.
A what time?
Sexy time. I made a sexy time with my mother-in-law.
You had sex with your mother-in-law?
Yes.
I don't think that Americans would find that funny.
No, it is not a joke.
Yeah, we're talking about humor.
Oh, yes, you asked me about my mother-in-law.
Do you have a joke about your mother-in-law?
No, why make a joke on a mother-in-law?
Think you know what it is? Be caller 12 at 855-839-1210, and you could win this great prize.
And today's great prize is a $50 gift card to the Metro Diner. If you can identify that movie clip, be caller 12 at 855-839-1210. A little hint, a little clue for you. it came out on this date 17 years ago. November 3rd, 2006. Caller 12, 855-839-1210. And no, the answer is not Saw 2. $50 gift card to the Metro Diner as we continue. Kayal and Company, part 2 of the cut sheet on the way. Talk Radio 1210, WPHT.
Paid actor portrayal.
I didn't see it coming. Life can be so unpredictable. After losing my dad, it made me think about my family if something were to happen to me. The mortgage, car payments, and all the other bills. Even things like our annual summer vacation would be out of reach. I had heard about life insurance through Ethos and how easy it was to get coverage. They were right. I knew it was time to stop putting it off and get life insurance right now. I got on my computer and went to ethoslife.com. In just 10 minutes, I was covered. And boom, family protected. Thanks to Ethos, my family won't have to worry about the bills if the unpredictable happens to me.
Ethos, fast and easy online term life insurance. Up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at getethos.com. That's GETETHOS.com.
Looking for a new Ford? Winter Ford has the vehicle for you. Choose from our large selection of new F-150s, Explorers, Escapes, and Bronco Sports today. Winter Ford also takes care of you after the sale. Stop in their service department with no appointment necessary. Call 800-428-4000 for offer details. Visit in person or online at winterford.com. Winter Ford, people you trust, service and value you'll love.
Exergen thermometers are a top choice of medical professionals at highly rated hospitals across the U.S. Accuracy matters, so make Exergen the chosen thermometer for your home and family.
You're invited to witness a groundbreaking documentary, America's Retirement Dilemma, a documentary of Wall Street's rigged system, featuring powerful exclusive interviews such as the top regulator over Wall Street, the Inspector General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, H. David Kotz, who indicates how Wall Street is rigged.
In the federal government, management is often a big challenge. Get the manager to do the right thing. It's a great concern.
The Chief Accountability Officer over the federal government, the United States Comptroller General, David Walker, further explaining the dilemma facing all Americans.
If we have another recession, the federal government doesn't have any more tools in its toolbox.
Hear these experts and more exclusive interviews with powerful industry leaders, esteemed economists, and top researchers at the Spring Mill Manor, November 14th. Registration is required. 1-800-722-9728 or crashproofretirement.com.
My name is Tom DeBello, and I'm here to take a sledgehammer to the excessive spending in Montgomery County as your next county commissioner. If you're fed up, tired, and had enough of your hard-earned money being spent on their projects to enrich themselves and their friends, then help me help you. Together, we can bring back strong, experienced leadership to Montgomery County. Vote Tom DeBello for Montgomery County Commissioner on November 7th. This ad is paid for by friends of Tom DeBello.
I'm Tony Kornheiser, and this is my show. What, you expecting something different? Whether you're looking for deep, insightful dives into the day's top sports stories, that's why we have guests, right, Nigel? Or simply how to get change for 100, you'll find it on the Tony Kornheiser Show. From football picks from the best prognosticators in the business, including a monkey, to real-time baseball playoff analysis, to traffic in an area where you don't live. We got you covered. My friends come on, and you know them. Listen on the Odyssey app or wherever you get your podcasts.
From Broomall to Brookhaven, follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app.
Download it now.
What have we done with innocence? It disappeared with time, it never made much sense.
9:30, Kayal and Company, Friday morning here on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT. The Dawn Show's coming up at 10 o'clock. We'll find out what Dawn has on tap in just a little bit, as well as who won Twitter today and what is on the cut sheet part due. Should be a beautiful weekend for the Eagles and the Cowboys. Sunday afternoon, 4:25 at the Link. We'll make a prediction on that game as well. Even though Stocker's not here, Although my guess is he would take the Eagles. 855-839-1210. One last story, and then also an update on the remote starters for vehicles. Got an email about that Stalker has forwarded over, so we will get to that in a moment as well. But we have our winner for the Morning Mystery Movie Clip. It is Ross in Southampton. And Ross, you're on Talk Radio 1210. What movie did we just play for you a few minutes ago?
Hey, the movie is Borat.
Say that one more time. You cut out, Ross.
The movie is Borat.
That is correct, sir.
Very nice, very nice.
Congratulations. $50 gift card, Metro Diner. How's that sound?
That's awesome. Thanks a lot.
You got it. Ross in Southampton, the winner today. Yeah, Borat, 17 years ago. Was that you, Valdez, doing the Borat impersonation?
Very nice. My wife.
Look at this. He's got impersonations. Final day on the show, he's busting out all the stuff he never told us about.
I'm full of impressions, let me tell you.
Who else can you impersonate? Anybody that the audience would know? Famous or
we
this
did
show?
it, Joe. You're going to be the president of the United States.
Who's that?
That's Kamala Harris.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Kamala, what did you think about Daniel's impression?
There you go.
You don't go on TikTok and post these impressions, do you?
No. I mean, I'm on TikTok, but I don't post them.
Okay, right. And you're not on TikTok like pretending to be a female, right?
No, I can't have the Chinese getting my data, you know?
Okay, very good. Well, you got the talking points memorized. That's half the battle. All right, so Stalker has sent over an email. We were having the remote starter conversation on, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going out to start your vehicle and having frost on the windshield when it's 30 degrees on November 3rd. And we got an email from a man named Rick. And he says, "Hello, Greg. Tell Nick to go to any car stereo place not named Best Buy. He can buy an aftermarket remote starter that will start his car from 1 mile away." Now, I never would have thought in a million years you could start your vehicle from a mile away.
Yeah, they have them out there. I mean, Best Buy's fine. They do it it depends which one you go to, but they can do it.
Okay.
It's fine, but a lot of the newer cars have them. That's why they're...
Yeah.
You can put backup cameras in as well, but...
Okay.
Whatever.
I have a backup camera. That's not an issue. I mean, I've had cars in the past with automatic starters, but I don't think I've ever even tried to start it from a mile away. But that's pretty good information out of Rick. So we appreciate that. I'm going to have to look into that and call the people over at Piazza, see if we can get that hooked up. All right, 855-839-1210. Cut sheet part due on the way. But the final story of the week, I was going to get to this yesterday. And I know Stalker had some thoughts on this as well, because this is one of the stories that he found that he sends us on a nightly basis. But it's courtesy of the New York Post. And if nobody else on the show wants to talk about this subject, I got it. It's fine. Don't feel obligated to chime in. But the story goes, according to a doctor, when it comes to throat cancer, oral sex is worse than smoking when it comes to the risks of throat cancer. A young doctor says oral sex is a greater risk factor than smoking in the development of throat cancer. This is according to Dr. Daria Sadovskaya, who made the declaration in a viral TikTok video, where all the good news comes from, apparently. Despite the American Cancer Society citing tobacco as the #1 risk factor for the illness known as oropharyngeal cancer, or throat cancer for short. Quote, "Are you saying that oral sex is proven to be the #1 cause of throat cancer?" One TikTok user asked this doctor, who responded with a video bluntly stating, "I said what I said." The American Cancer Society does cite oral sex as one potential cause of throat cancer, given the human HPV for short.
Hey, it's hard, man.
Yeah,
it's
hard. It is. Which can be transmitted during the act. HPV is the most common sexually transmitted infection, with an estimated 13 million new cases in the U.S. each year. So I wanted to bring that up because there's also a legitimate story out there where the Biden administration is trying to ban menthol cigarettes. And a conservative group, according to Fox News, has just unleashed a 6-figure ad campaign targeting the Biden menthol cigarette ban. So when you put these two stories together, I mean, maybe the Biden administration shouldn't be so focused on banning everything Americans enjoy, like gas-powered vehicles, gas-powered stoves, going electric this, electric that,
And, I'm not a smoker. I've never understood the infatuation or the addiction. I can't stand the smell. But trying to ban menthol cigarettes, like really? Like if you're an adult and you want to make an adult decision and smoke menthol cigarettes, which I believe are worse for you than non-menthol cigarettes, okay, great. So what's next? Is the Biden administration, now that we have this data, is the Biden administration going to ban oral sex? They want to ban everything else. So why don't we ban that?
Now let's just think about what we talk about all the time with these very graphic books that are introduced into our libraries, into our schools, being pushed, and every other day we have some video of some poor mom, who they're saying that she can't show or read the book, or a dad in a council meeting.
Yep.
And think about what they're showing and wanting to reveal to kids as young as kindergartners these different kinds of the weighted pictures, graphic pictures of different kind of ways that people can have quote unquote relations.
Yep.
And now let's think about the fact that what we don't tell people, adults, we don't tell, that HPV is thought to be responsible for more than 90% of anal and cervical cancers, 70% of female cancers, 60% of penile, the male cancers, let's just say.
Yep.
So these are STDs.
Yeah.
When have you let me just put this out there. Maybe I'm wrong. I seriously doubt if you did a poll, most people realize that some of the most common cancers, which can be killers, are actually caused by STDs.
Yeah. I would not have known that. And not at that rate that you're talking about.
I've had an STD.
What?
It was mono.
Oh, well.
That counts.
Yeah. It's from kissing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone who's had cold sores had one.
Yeah, I'm wondering if I had mono as a kid or as a teenager. I don't recall having it, but I could be wrong. But anyway, I thought you were going to drop like a bigger bombshell.
I know. I was like,
man, what else does this guy want to tell us about his last day?
Yeah, everything comes out now.
Yeah, I know. Now he spills his bucket. He's got impressions and he's got STDs.
Yeah, sorry it waited so long.
Good to know you, pal.
Yeah.
So when we say, so let's just think about that. They have this push to have an HPV vaccine, for example. Everybody's got to have the vaccine. It's a 2-dose, this whole thing. But the truth is, never would they consider saying, hey, maybe people, not for nothing, if you swim in a lot of rivers, unknown rivers, okay, you be careful where you swim. And if you swim in one place, and it's like you're loyal to that one place, you're less likely to get cancer and die.
That's correct. That is correct.
We never hear about morality or ethics or things that, that maybe would be useful to people.
Yeah. Gonna need a bigger boat. Sorry. I put a little levity to that. All right, that'll do it for the stories of the week. It's 9:38. Let's get to a Daniel Valdez edition of What's on the Cut Sheet Part 2.
What's on the cut sheet?
Part 2. What's on the Cut Sheet Part 2. Sponsored by Delaware Valley BMW Centers, now through November 30th. During the BMW Road Home Sales Event, lease an all-electric 2024 BMW iX xDrive 50 for $799 per month for 36 months with 6429 due at signing. Details at bmwcenters.com. Two-time election denier. Do you know who that is? And two-time loser.
Let's go with Stacey Abrams.
Yeah, there you go. Stacey Abrams was on Inside with Jen Psaki.
Okay, but she wasn't inside.
No,
just with
no,
Jen Psaki.
no.
Right.
Hopefully she doesn't get STDs that way
Right.
either.
Yes.
Stacey Abrams thinks Biden has outperformed expectations and has been an exceptional president.
Oh, really? Outperformed expectations.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so Stacey Abrams on Inside with Jen Psaki. Phil, this is cut 7. Go.
Are you satisfied with the job he's done as president, what he's delivered on?
I think President Joe Biden has been an exceptional president. On a range of issues, he has overperformed expectation. He has navigated incredibly difficult circumstances, and he has shown that he is willing to stand with the people of Georgia, with the people of this country, to move the nation forward.
So Joe Biden has exceeded the expectations of Stacey Abrams and perhaps some other Democrats alike. Well, the polling would indicate otherwise. And for her to make a statement that strongly and that's stupidly, that would be like me saying,
Girls, my expectation for Olivia and Mia for the first marking period of fourth grade was F-minuses. But you know what? You got a D+, so you exceeded my expectations. Good job. You have done a far better job than I thought you were capable of. That takes, I mean, she's, denied everything. So she denies election after election, but yet she's actually going to try to argue the case that Joe Biden has outperformed expectations. Okay, Stacey Abrams.
He's outperformed expectations when he doesn't fall.
Yeah, a good day for Joe is that he's able to address the nation. He can go up a flight of steps, down a flight of steps, not have the teleprompter blow him out of the water, because we know the teleprompter is undefeated against Joe. But Joe's just trying not to get blown out in the teleprompter game itself, and then make it back across the White House lawn before he goes to a beach vacation getaway in Delaware for the weekend.
Honestly, he's in bed by 8 o'clock on a good day. Well, his day is done.
I'd like to be in bed at 8 o'clock, too.
What can I tell you?
Oh, and by the way, speaking of falling, there was a video yesterday, and I fell for it, and a lot of others did as well, of what looked to be Gavin Newsom going down a flight of steps coming off of an airplane. For everybody, and I fell for it initially, too, it was not Gavin Newsom, actually. It was Tommy Tuberville of the state of Alabama. So I know a lot of people ran with it because it was like a distant view of him coming down the steps, holding his luggage, and he literally wiped out and bounced and slid down on his backside down like 5 different steps of the staircase that comes out of the airplane. It was not Gavin Newsom, as much as we thought it was.
That's why we don't get our stuff from Twitter.
That's right. That was a classic stalker moment. It was Tommy Tuberville. I believe he's a senator in Alabama.
Everyone's favorite rootin' tootin' high heel wearing presidential candidate, Ron DeSantis, I should say, was on MSNBC, I believe last night, and he was suggesting that Trump should be removed from the primary. Can you believe that?
Removed from the primary?
Yeah.
I think we discussed this yesterday, but we can play it again.
Did we play it again?
Yeah, we can.
I'll go to a different cut.
If you have more, yeah.
I got more.
Okay.
I got more.
Yeah, we did that yesterday.
Everything just goes in your mind.
Yeah, and he's getting roasted for that, and rightfully so, on Twitter.
Yeah, so let's go with Phil. This is going to be cut 6. Representative Pete Aguilar is learning a lot about the new speaker this week. Mike Johnson's first week tied the Israel aid to cuts in the IRS personnel, which was announced he intended to tie Ukraine aid to more border security measures, and said that he believes Department of Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has committed impeachable offenses but stopped short of backing an impeachment effort, and the representative says it has been a complete disaster. Cut 6, Phil, go.
After 22 days of extreme MAGA Republicans holding this institution hostage, House Democrats are ready to get to work to deliver for the most pressing issues of the American people, lowering costs, funding our government, and making sure that we are sending aid to our allies without conditions, not playing political games like the Speaker is doing. We're learning a lot about this new Speaker this week with these first legislative decisions, and this has been a complete and total disaster. We look forward to working in a bipartisan way to send aid to our allies abroad. But this bill today is not that vehicle.
Okay, so I'm assuming he doesn't like the standalone bill with sending aid to Israel alone, which I think a lot of Republicans and a lot of people in general look at this and say, we're fine with that. What we don't want is it all lumped together with, okay, here's a big lump sum. This part goes to Israel. This part goes to Ukraine. This part goes to the next thing we're trying to defend and protect. Now, what was the tie-in there with Mayorkas with an impeachable offense? Because my comment was going to be, I'm getting real tired of the Republicans out there in Congress that view things that Mayorkas has failed to do as an impeachable offense, but failing to actually move forward with those actions.
It just said that Mike Johnson believes he has committed impeachable offenses, but stopped short of backing an impeachment effort.
You see, that's lame. And like Mike Johnson's been attacked from the left since the day he got the vote to become the House Speaker. But if you believe somebody is impeachable, then go with it.
I mean, Marjorie Taylor Greene's been saying that about Joe Biden.
I know, and I'm tired of hearing then let's go.
Stop. Yeah. We there's plenty of evidence here and we've seen impeachments that have been brought forward with far less evidence. So again, it's like Republicans hold power, and like you don't use all of your tools that are available when you win back the House. Let's go. I know it won't result in anything, but if you believe there's enough there to go with it, then go with it.
And finally, on this cut sheet part due, in my final cut of the cut sheet.
Oh, boy.
John Kirby, everyone's favorite, said that the president would veto an only Israel bill.
Yep.
And he said he's made that very clear. This is John Kirby, cut 9, Phil.
Thanks, Kirby. The vice president was over in London and said that if Israel and Ukraine were bifurcated, that the president would veto it. You over the last couple of days have explained that you would veto something with offsets, especially involving the IRS. But I wanted to be clear: if the president was presented with a clean Israel funding bill without Ukraine, he would veto that as well.
The president believes that the supplemental request that we submitted contains 4 really critical national security urgent needs: Israel, Ukraine, our Indo-Pacific resourcing, particularly when it comes to manufacturing of submarines, and of course border security. All 4 are important. And the whole idea of an urgent supplemental is you're submitting what you think are urgent requests, and the president wants to see all of them honored, all of them acted on by Congress, all of them together. We wouldn't have submitted it that way if we didn't believe that they all weren't important and should be acted on together.
Obviously, you guys want to see them all 4 together, but lawmakers are trying to figure out right now how to kind of negotiate through this, and it seems to be sort of an unclear signal from the administration. So was the vice president correct? He would veto an Israel-only bill if it didn't have other issues that you were concerned about?
The president would veto an only Israel bill. I think that we've made that clear.
And if it would somehow make its way to his desk, which it will not, it is DOA, dead on arrival. Nice of them to lump in the southern border there at the end. We're going to take care of Israel. We're going to take care of Ukraine, the Indo-Pacific, and, of course, what's going on at the southern border. We can't forget about the southern border. A little bit of attention for the southern border.
But it's not a crisis.
It's not a crisis, and it shouldn't. And, of course, it should not be the #1 initiative right now. We should just keep spending all sorts of resources, money, for things overseas. All right, that'll do it for what's on the cut sheet part due. Anthony Blinken is actually in Israel right now, live in Tel Aviv, talking about the escalation and the potential of that from Hezbollah, which, by the way, Fox, I believe, earlier in the 9 o'clock hour carried a press conference from the leader of Hezbollah, which I don't know how I feel about that. Like, basically carrying a press conference of another known terrorist organization, so to speak. But that's neither here nor there. All right, we'll come back, wrap it up, find out what's on tap for the Dawn Show today, as well as who won Twitter today. It's Kayal and Company on Talk Radio 1210 WPHT.
Hi, this is Dom Giordano. Rescue Natural Supplements' unprecedented Black Friday sale is back again this year. The savings are bigger and better than ever. Right now, they're slashing prices on all supplements with discounts ranging from 50 to an incredible 80% off the total cost. Rescue has a wide array of products to address your health needs, including immunity, cholesterol support, heart health, and natural energy enhancers. It's 50% off omega-3s, probiotics, and so much more. And one more thing, this Rescue Black Friday sale will run the entire month of November. So shop today at res-q.com, res-q.com, or call a Rescue product consultant 800-26-ALIVE, 800-262-5483. Again, all Rescue supplements are 50 to 80% off during the entire month of November. So why wait? Start shopping at res-q.com today or call 800-26-ALIVE.
Urgent Camp Lejeune settlement message. On September 6th, the government announced it will soon begin providing fast, guaranteed settlements to Camp Lejeune Marines, families, and civilians. Awards will range between $100,000 and $550,000, with an option for higher amounts. If you or a loved one spent time at Camp Lejeune and suffered cancers of the bladder, liver, or kidneys, leukemia, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, Parkinson's, or kidney issues, you may qualify for compensation and could be paid within 60 days after accepting your settlement, with your VA benefits fully protected. You may be entitled entitled to a significant financial award for your Camp Lejeune claim, but you must act now. Call the James Harris Law Camp Lejeune helpline now to get the compensation you deserve. We're already fighting for thousands harmed by the water at Camp Lejeune. Call now or you may forever lose your right to be awarded a settlement between $100,000 and $550,000. For your free evaluation, call 800-217-1155. That's 800-217-1155. 800-217-1155.
The government is spying on you. No surprise, I know. But did you know the banks are helping them? And did you know that withdrawing your cash from the bank can be very risky? That's right. Let Swiss America educate you about this. Banks are now required to spy on us for the government, and they report any behavior they think is suspicious. You'll be shocked when you read The Secret War on Cash from Swiss America. This new war against cash is really a war against the Constitution, against all freedom-loving Americans. You must read The Secret War on Cash. Get your free copy by calling or texting 800-258-9968. 800-258-9968. This war on cash is growing daily, and it also includes all forms of digital money. So please get and read The Secret War on Cash free by calling or texting right now at 800-258-9968. 800-258-9968. Message and data rates may apply.
Join us at Odyssey as we all do our one thing, together millions of things, for our planet. Planning a road trip to visit family and friends this holiday season? Now is the perfect time to make sure your car is getting optimal gas mileage. First, check your tires and make sure they are inflated to proper pressure. Remove heavy items like golf clubs from your car and plan on packing light. And minimize stops on longer trips to help maximize your fuel economy. When we each share our one thing, it becomes 100 things, 1,000 things, 1,000,000 things for our planet. What's your one thing?
Don't let them silence you. Follow 1210 WPHT on the free Odyssey app. Download it now.
Kayal and Company as we continue Talk Radio 1210 WPHT live on this Friday morning, heading till 10 o'clock as the Dawn Show is up in just about 8 minutes, and we find out what she has on tap this morning.
Yeah, we have some important updates. Looks like they have a major development and break in the case with regard to the alleged gunman in this case of a 14-year-old boy being shot and killed in Bucks County. So we have some major new developments on that one. A lot of different police stories to cover. So coming up, I'll update you off the top everything that's going on, and then we get to our friend Betsy Brantner Smith. So she's with the National Police Association.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about some of these policing and as well something that's coming to Philadelphia this coming week, courtesy of the National Police Association. So she'll update us on that one. Coming up at 11, talk about healthcare. Dr. Richard Cube joins us, and he'll break down his take on healthcare monopolies, how that impacts all of us, and the need for legislation to essentially give us better healthcare. Because we see, obviously, the effects of inflation, but as well, these monopolies.
Ain't that the truth?
Right? And we all feel it.
I'm living it on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So
Believe me
what
too.
time is that, 11 o'clock?
So 11 o'clock.
All right.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I have a kid who's a type 1 diabetic.
Oh, yeah.
Yesterday, trying to pick up a medication that used to be, I think it used to be $25 for a 90-day supply, $178 for a 1-month supply.
It's just outrageous.
And that's the monopolies.
Yeah. Yeah, the healthcare system in this country is a disgrace. But we could do a whole show on that. All right. Anything else lined up?
So those are the interviews. In between, there is a lot of major breaking news that I want to get to internationally, but as well locally.
All right, very good. The Dawn Show coming up in 6 minutes as we wrap up a Friday with Who Won Twitter Today.
Who won Twitter?
I'm going to give it to Snowbody Gal. She said, the first year my son left for college, I came in from work late and sat on the couch and realized I completely forgot to get candy for the trick-or-treaters. I put an empty bowl out with a sign that said, Happy Halloween, take one, please. Problem solved.
Oh.
Just an empty bowl.
Empty bowl. If you don't put anything out, it can't be stolen.
There you go.
Exactly right.
There you go.
All right. Well, this is Daniel Valdez's final day, so I just want to thank you for all the hard work you have done for. You've been here since the beginning of last October, correct?
I came in like February, or not February, November.
In November. So so basically a year.
It's been about a year, yeah.
You busted your tail. You're a machine. You've done a great job. I know you'll do well in the video world that you're doing. And if you ever need a recommendation, lose my number.
Okay.
I'm just kidding.
Cool.
If you ever need a recommendation, I will absolutely give it to you. So
Thanks, man.
best of luck to you.
It's been
pal.
great. It's been a great ride.
All right,
We
so
think the world of you.
Yes, go
We
ahead.
really
Dawn.
do.
Dawn,
Thank you.
Floor is yours, Dawn.
No, I speak for every one of us. I know Greg Stocker, due to family illness, couldn't be here, but I know all of us feel we love you.
Yep.
And we just know you're going to do great things. We hope you come back here for a spell, but taking this full-time job, and we
Right.
watch you through your journey. Of
Yeah.
Graduating college as a student, it's so hardworking, so much integrity, and just a meticulous individual as far as professionalism.
And if you ever lose the desire to make money and you want to work for less because the itch for radio is too strong to overcome, you're always welcome back.
Yeah, make less, but hey, we have a lot of fun.
And I'm sure we'll cross paths
Yes.
at some. I mean, consider me and you live down the street. Who
Yeah.
knows, you know?
Right. Which is still, I still have to figure out. I don't know
You
what's
and
more mystifying to me, Dawn. The fact that Dorenzo on a radio salary goes to all the big sporting
I
events
know.
in a suite, or the fact that Valdez can afford to live basically in the same neighborhood that I can't afford to live in.
Yeah.
What are we doing wrong?
Maybe I'm doing something wrong. I don't know. So, stay tuned. The Dawn Show is coming up next. Have a great rest of your Friday. Enjoy the weekend. Eagles Cowboys on Sunday, and we will be back Monday morning at 6 a.m. And as our favorite senator would say,
good night, everybody.
Dom Giordano.
Robert, welcome in.
When they were reading off the names of the ships that they were sending to Israel, and they read the Gerald R. Ford, my heart froze. My daughter is an officer on that ship. In my house, she's still sweet pea, you know what I'm saying? But on another level, I'm proud because whatever her job is, America's in good hands. I'll just leave it at that.
Well, you've talked about her as a great father-daughter story. The way you position it, Robert, it's so heartfelt.
It's Dom time. Dom Giordano. Weekdays noon till 3 on Talk Radio